You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Hello, hi, welcome to Taco Tuesday. Who wants a taco? Yeah, I know. Taco. All right, everyone, act normal. Perfect. Now, everybody say Taco Tuesday.
Oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
Hello, Chicago, and everyone else on planet Earth, and anyone possibly streaming us from a nearby galaxy. My name is Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner. And I just want to give you a little background on some of tonight's stories. We're starting with a national story because it's pretty much affecting everybody, and it's really stupid. And but I want to first give you a little background on a word called KayFabe.
So KayFabe is a pretty versatile term. In essence, it means to keep the secrets of the wrestling world secret from outsiders. Now, we're talking about 99% of the people watching this right now, except for the few wrestlers, we get comments from them now and again. What KayFabe really revolves around is keeping the audience's suspension of disbelief intact. Let them think the fights are real. Let them think that the guy who lost the "You're Fired" match is actually fired.
You're fired!
Let them think that the manager with the Russian accent isn't an actress/model from Florida. The idea of kayfabe was first documented in the book Fall Guys, The Barnums of Bounce by Marcus Griffin back in 1937. While the book doesn't specifically use that term, it does document the concept, as Griffin learned the ins and outs of wrestling and gave readers an insight into the business. But where does the actual term come from?
Okay, we don't really care about that right now. But I want to thank GameSpot Universe for having this video available. The video is called Breaking Kayfabe Wrestling 101 if you want to watch any more of this explanation. But I just wanted to give you that up front because we're talking about the debt ceiling, which I always call the austerity kayfabe. And I'd like my cohort in crime for Tuesday to join me on this one if he's ready. Are you ready? Is it working? Okay. Jerry Vasilatos is joining us this evening from parts unknown, possibly a cave with bats in it. Hey, Jerry, how's it going? It's going to be one of those days. You got your mic working? No?
Yeah, are you kidding me? It's not working now?
It's like I can hear like if your microphone was in the other room.
Right.
He'll be back. We'll take you off camera for this? He's resetting his microphone. But while he's doing that, we're going to get into it here. And so you guys may recall that Congress can't hear you, Jerry. Still can't hear you. He's going to have to unplug, replug, and hit it with a hammer. But while we're doing that, I can bring up this next video here, which is going to give us a little background, or at least a general idea on what we're talking about this evening. And here's CBS News, the national feed, telling us what's in the debt ceiling deal, which I call the austerity kayfabe, and what they're going back and forth on with Melty Joe and Speaker McCarthy.
Congress is set to vote this week on a bipartisan agreement to suspend the debt ceiling and avert a potential government default. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden were able to finally reach a 2-year agreement over the weekend, this after weeks of negotiations. Both leaders are now working to convince lawmakers in their respective parties to back the deal.
So it's not 100% what everybody wants, but when you look, the country is going to be stronger. This is going to be transformational.
The agreement also represents a compromise, which means no one got everything they want. But that's the responsibility of governing.
Okay, I'm just stopping the video right there while we got that blank stare of Melty Joe, who looks like he's being run by a remote control, possibly an early version of Elon Musk's brain chip. Notice that he and McCarthy are using the same words. They're both talking about how nobody is getting what they want, but the truth is they're not talking about them. They're talking about us. Because if Biden really wanted to just move forward with the debt ceiling and just instruct the Federal Reserve to make sure that payments are made for things that they already passed bills and funding bills for, he could do it. And there are other options too. One of the things we'll talk about, that $1 trillion coin thing, that's a real thing that they could do. It's not necessarily I don't think it's what the original intent of the people who did the legislation for making coins at the Treasury thought it would be for, but it now gives the president an option. So before I do any more of that, I want to say hello to everybody in the live chat and also take a quick look on Rockfin. Okay, nobody in the Rockfin chat yet, but hey, did you guys know we're also live on Rockfin? We're live on YouTube, Rockfin. We're live on Facebook and Twitter, and I think Jerry's LinkedIn account is also running a feed into LinkedIn for as long as they let us run a feed. I think they do a 4-hour max on there. They actually cut us off on the last show because we went 4.5 hours. That may be the longest show we've done so far. So looking into the chat here, hello Kathy Powers. She wants Burnett's $165,000. I think she's talking about an alder person in Chicago City Council. Arturo, good to see you. Hope your beverage time is being well spent. He says he's out of hardcore liquor though. Well, I mean, dude, you don't have to. I mean, do you feel obligated to be wasted in order to watch us? Is that what's going on there? I don't know. Uncle Warren, Extra Bulla, good to see you. Yes, it's a Taco Tuesday. I don't have tacos today. I always want tacos, but I don't have them today. I thought about reheating some barbecue from this past Memorial Day weekend, but that would have been too messy, and I needed to prepare a show and my brain cells, and I don't think that would have worked today. Let's see. Kathy Powers asking, isn't it Monday? It felt like Monday. I had to remind myself that it's Tuesday and we have a show. I'm like, wait, no, it's Tuesday. It's not Monday. It is Tuesday. So for those of you just tuning in going, what the hell's he doing streaming Chicago Corner on a Monday? No, it's Tuesday. Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up for everybody. Anybody else in the live chat? Let's take a look. Let's scroll down. Where Pilgrim, good to see you. Papal Penguin Gaming, thanks for joining us. Just got back from the Jewels. I know they had a bunch of stuff on sale the last couple of days. I should have stocked up on chips though. I forgot to get chips because I think they had like a buy two get two deal. Jerry's back. I think his mic's working now. How you want to test it?
What'd I miss?
You didn't miss much. Just me babbling about food mostly.
All right. Well, hopefully I can. Yeah. Well, that's so. Yeah, I didn't miss anything because this is what we spend every show doing.
Yeah. So yeah, your mic is working fine. I think I'm hearing it anyway. I hope it sounds
my video okay.
Video looks pretty good.
Awesome.
So
let's move on.
let's trudge forward here. So the first thing I did was let everybody gave them a quick intro on what KayFabe was. So I played that little video. I hope you got a chance to see that.
I know what it means, so I don't have to
okay.
catch up.
Okay. And then I played the first 30 seconds of the CBS News clip here, which I can rewind and play it again because because I think it's worth hearing again.
Can I get a word in before you go on?
Yes.
I appreciate you rewinding this because everybody, I really have been trying to wrap my head around all this debt ceiling stuff and I can't. And Ed is really seriously like the brains of the show when it comes to this stuff. So I'm going to really rely and depend and trust on him walking us through this. So if we can play this video one more time to set all this up, I feel like I'm going to learn from Ed tonight.
I'm hoping some people are going to learn from me tonight. I have a lot more knowledge about this whole thing than I probably should have, but I've been trying to figure out what was going on with federal spending for several years now, and so I know when the government is lying to us or kayfabing us in the things that they do, and it's a lot more obvious to me now that I understand how federal spending works.
I hope Constitutional Conservative is tuned in to learn something too about federal debt spending, since he thinks all of his taxes cover everything, which is an opposition.
So don't worry if a lot of this is going to go over some of your heads. I've got articles and links in the show notes. We may not get to all of them, but I wanted to have them available in case I wanted to refer to some of these because. But I want to start with what's actually going on and what the news is telling us. Okay. So here we're going with CBS News talking about the debt ceiling again.
Congress is set to vote this week on a bipartisan agreement to suspend the debt ceiling and avert a potential government default. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden were able to finally reach a 2-year agreement over the weekend, this after weeks of negotiations. Both leaders are now working to convince lawmakers in their respective parties to back the deal.
So it's not 100% what everybody wants, but when you look, the country is going to be stronger. This is going to be transformational.
The agreement also represents a compromise, which means no one got everything they want.
Okay, now this is where I paused it before your camera crapped out, but I was like, did you notice that they're using the same language here? They're both, because they're in cahoots, Jerry.
They always are. We knew this.
This is KayFabe.
Yep.
And it's basically they're pretending that the rest of us are all stupid. They're pretending that
what, Ed? Too many Americans who don't dig to find out the truth, unfortunately, are stupid. But what they're discounting is those of us who are paying attention, like yourself, me, and people who look for the answers at their independent media and stop feeding into this whole tribal identity mentality all the time.
Now, and the crazy thing about this is that we've been talking on Chicago Corner for a while about how we basically have it's a duopoly. They're working together. They're the money party. There's money blue and money red, and they're all working together to line their own pockets and to help out their corporate benefactors.
We should just start calling them together collectively the Purple Party. There's one party ruling things. It's the Purple Party, and that's the color of the duopoly.
Yeah, duopoly purple. Yeah, I guess. Except I like purple, and I don't want to associate them with that color.
Well, the Green Party is already taken.
Why don't we call them the Brown Party because the color of shit?
Okay, I think I can agree with you on that. I was going to say we can't use the Green Party because that color was already in use by someone else. But I like brown for the, and you know what? Let's just call it the two-party the two-party shit show. Brown, the two-party shit show. That's the party.
So here we are with them saying that they have to raise a debt ceiling, and what people have to understand is Congress passes a funding bill for everything that they do. Once the funding bill is passed, then that basically gives the Federal Reserve authorization to cut the checks and make the payments. Now, what the debt ceiling is it's an old mechanism. It's it's been around before our country, before the United States went off of the gold standard. And so where it might have mattered back then when they really had a limited amount of available monetary things, they don't anymore.
So to define the debt ceiling, it means before the gold standard was relieved, there was a finite amount of money that the Congress and the U.S. was allowed to spend, and this debt ceiling meant we can't spend any more past this. Is that how I'm understanding it right?
More or less, yeah. It's like they were concerned about doing too much spending, and that they had set a limit for themselves, and they would have to authorize continuously whether or not they would raise or lower it.
And
now,
that means Congress has to speak and debate and basically discuss it before. Okay.
And the reason why Congress doesn't just get rid of the debt ceiling, because it's money they've already appropriated for things, right? It's like if you say that you're going to pass a bill and you're going to spend all this money on all of this stuff. If you choose not to raise the debt ceiling to make the money available to pay for those things, you're basically a deadbeat.
So the money's there.
Yeah.
The reason I'm interrupting it, just so I can follow clearly, because I'm actually struggling to make sure I'm following you. So the money has already been appropriated and approved, even though there's a debt ceiling, and this artificial debt ceiling is basically allowing them to pretend that they can't spend money that they've already appropriated that's supposed to go places. Is that how I'm following it? Okay.
Right. And so what it does for members of Congress, and the reason why they haven't gotten rid of it, is because they use it as a bargaining chip. And that's what McCarthy does. The Democrats don't do it very often, but they do sometimes. It's just that they pretend like they're on the side of the people, and then they let the Republicans walk all over them, because that's truly the position that they all hold. And so if there's something that they don't want to do, they use the debt ceiling as an excuse for not doing it. And the truth is,
that's the allusion to KayFabe, then, is the phoniness in wrestling. There, it's all performative and baloney.
So let me just give you a quick explainer on how federal spending works. Okay, the spending comes first. So Congress passes a bill. The Federal Reserve creates the money to pay for those things. That's not. They don't have to find the money. They don't have to send out invoices to everybody or in the United States,
or appropriate it from tax money.
Right. You don't have to. They're not sending you like a monthly cable bill or a monthly bill to Disney Plus or something. You're not paying to fund the government that way.
It's not coming out of our taxes is the simplest way to state. Okay.
Right. So there's a different, like, if you're talking about state and local governments, then that is funded by taxes and revenue sources. But on the federal level, the federal government doesn't need your money for that.
So where is so not to go too down the in a different direction, but where do our federal taxes go? As simply as possible, if the government is not using the federal taxes that we pay in our income tax and everything else, where does that tax money go, since they actually are printing money for the spending that they're doing?
I'm so glad you asked, Jerry. When you pay federal taxes, those tax dollars are destroyed upon receipt. I know that's going to shock a lot of you. Okay, the reason why you pay taxes on the federal level, in part, is to give money value. You can only pay federal taxes in US dollars. That is the only currency you can use to pay those taxes. So that creates a need for dollars. So the government, they spend money into existence, and then you pay some of it back to the government in federal taxes to continue giving money value.
But they're not relying on our federal taxes to pay this budget,
right,
or cover the money that's been appropriated and approved that is somehow limited by this debt ceiling that either side has the opportunity to pull out of politics.
Right. So I used to say that I think Congress could build a roller coaster on the moon, and not a penny of it comes from your tax dollars. They decide what their priorities are. They look and see if the resources are available, and if those resources are available to purchase in U.S. dollars, they create the dollars, they buy the resources or appropriate the resources, and then that happens. Those things happen. So
why do they perpetuate this kabuki theater, basically pitting everyone against each other with their politics that they don't want their tax money going here or there? Or did I just answer my question?
That's basically it. They continue this austerity kayfabe because they don't give a crap about you. They want to keep you all in the dark. They want to make everybody feel like running a government is like managing your bills at the kitchen table. It's not like a home budget. Federal government can spend as much as it needs to. And it has. You guys know that they keep funneling money into the military, right? In the defense budget, the billions of dollars going to Ukraine.
They always have money for it. There's never a question where that money comes from. They always have money for that, but they never have money for the other things that we talk about, like, solving homelessness, ending hunger. You need the money for the military,
healthcare system,
national healthcare. When you need the money to advance the agenda of American empire in other countries, which destabilize regions and force all these migrants to cross the border to get away from the messes that we cause, we don't have money to fix it. We got money for that, but we don't have money to actually take care of our people here at home.
Right. So what we've got right now is, and you and I have both noticed this, is basically the Dems and the Republicans are two right-wing parties.
Yeah.
They're working together. They make people feel like there's a left and a right in the United States, but it's not really there. It's just that the Democrats act that they act like they want to do stuff for you, and then all of a sudden, I'm sorry, we don't have the votes, or we're getting blocked by the other party, or the parliamentarian is telling us we can't do it, or any other excuse in the book for something that they really don't want to do.
The Democrats abandoned the working class back after sometime between, well, I would say it was probably between Bush and Clinton, because you had Reagan and Bush embracing big business, Wall Street, all of these things that have basically created a 1% ruling class oligarchy. The Democrats saw where the money was, and they basically started becoming a more pro-business party like the Republicans, while pretending that they're representing the interests of everybody that they used to represent before that, the working class,
right, and
the middle class.
The greed and the capitalist part of that has been going on much longer, but essentially, like the 70s and 80s is when there was this basically this organization that emerged called Third Way, and their idea was, well, why can't Dems also do pro-business stuff and corporate stuff? And that's when everything went to hell. And
so isn't it funny when you hear about conservatives and Republicans bitching about Democrats all the time? I would think that they would embrace Democratic policies even more so, because, the Democrats are doing everything that they want while also fucking everybody over that they don't think deserves anything.
Yeah, it's
covertly.
And the problem we have now is none of the people in Congress who were previously elected on progressive platforms is fighting against any of this right now. And it's like they're just laying down and letting them decide that, we're just going to be the austerity country again, when it's really not necessary. There's no need for us to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps for every single thing that Americans need to do. If we need to provide a robust social safety net and national health care and all those, and sufficient amount of money to fix all the roads and bridges in this country, Congress could do it. There's nothing holding them back from that. But instead, what they did for their infrastructure bill was pass something that was maybe 1/10 of the size that it really needed to be to get a really good start in rehabilitating our infrastructure. There's no excuse for it. So,
all right.
I know Kathy's mad about this because I don't know if she's just learning all these things right now. If you guys want to do some reading on that subject, there's this great book called The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelton. And I actually have an article from her. She's got her own little Substack. And
we also have it linked. We also have a link to that book on the Chicago Corner TV.com website.
Now, I can come back to that other video in a little bit, but we also have an article that lists some of the things that were in this so-called deficit debt ceiling deal. But first, I wanted to go here, and so go to if you want to read the book, The Deficit Myths. We have a link in our book list on ChicagoCornerTV.com, and you can where is that thing here? Here it is, ChicagoCornerTV.com. If you scroll down, you'll see a list of books that we're suggesting, or that, and you can buy them right through our book list.
Oh, you know what we ought to do, Ed? We ought to link that book list with the Chicago Corner referral account. Something to
at some point. Right now, I've just got mine from
okay.
Real Deep Dish. Nobody's actually purchased anything from it yet, and I figured, well, if I do get any money from that, it's just going to go right back into the Chicago Corner Fund anyway. But yeah, at a certain point, we will set one up. But it's a list on bookshop.org, and what bookshop.org is they link you to local bookshops in your area, so you can order directly from one of your local bookshops, and then you don't have to go through giant conglomerations like Amazorg to order your books.
What did you call it? Amazor?
Amazorg.
Amazord.
Do you remember the Fifth Element movie?
Yes, but I don't remember that phrase. Amazord?
Remember Zorg?
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah. So like Zord looks like Jeff Bezos. Got it.
Like Zorg was like this multi-gazillionaire, and he owned Corbin Dallas's cab company.
Got it.
And he ended up firing like 1 million people or whatever.
Little obscure reference, but I get it now.
Yeah. So I call him Amazorg with a G. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh, yes. So Stephanie Kelton had a little something to say about this debt ceiling crisis as well, because she's fairly familiar with how federal spending works. If you can see, let's see if it'll bring it up here. She is the professor of economics and public policy at Stony Brook University. And like I said, she's the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Deficit Myth, The Modern Monetary Theory and the Birth of the People's Economy. Now she's got a Substack called The Lens. And the reason she calls it The Lens is because MMT, or Modern Monetary Theory, is a framework for viewing how federal spending works. She calls it a lens. It's like you put on glasses and all of a sudden you can see how federal spending works. It's not like a strategy. It's not like, oh, well, that's that MMT talking, for why you can't do something. No, MMT just shows you what's possible. It tells you how the current economy is working with the way that U.S. federal spending works. So I gave you the short version. Spending comes first. You pay federal taxes. Those taxes are destroyed. Your federal taxes don't pay for anything.
They just replace. They just put it back in the big piggy bank with the money they've already created.
No, it's just destroyed.
What do you mean destroyed? It just evaporates. That's the part
Well, when we all used to use a lot more paper money, they used to actually burn or shred it. If you go to, I think the Federal Reserve, one of the Federal Reserve Bank gift shops, they will sell you like a plastic cube filled with shredded dollar bills.
I've seen those. So that you're serious. So when you say destroyed, you're not speaking as
literally destroyed. Yeah.
So money that people will pay on their tax returns, their federal taxes, that's zap to them through their bank accounts.
Now that everything's done like electronically, they're basically revising numbers on a spreadsheet. But essentially, what they're doing, any money that's paid back to the federal government is money that no longer exists in the private economy, right? So any government deficit is a private surplus, she says.
Okay.
And so you actually want your governments to run some deficits in order to make sure that things are running smoothly in your country. A lot of people don't see it that way because they misinterpret government budgets to be similar to home budgets, and they're not the same. So I hope you're all hanging in there with me on this conversation.
I'm following so far. It's like we're back in school in economics class.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys are getting something out of this out there in live stream land. Because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and this was like the perfect opportunity to do it while they're arguing over the austerity KayFabe deficit ceiling or debt ceiling. So here's Stephanie Kelton in an article. She says, first came months of vowing not to negotiate with Republicans over raising the debt ceiling limit. See, originally they weren't, the Democrats and Joe Biden, they weren't going to budge on this. They were just going to say, just raise the damn thing, do a clean bill, because it's money that they've already spent. That she says, then came weeks of negotiating with Republicans over raising the debt ceiling limit. And now, as I have been predicting for months, it appears that Democrats and Republicans are on the verge of passing a bipartisan deal that will push pause on the debt ceiling fight until sometime in late 2024. It's probably going to be early 2025, if I remember correctly, just because it was something, at least the current deal is something about they were going to wait until after the election. And then in all likelihood, we will reenact this painful drama all over again, she says. For now, the lead negotiators on both sides are touting the deal as a win. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is boasting that 95% of his caucus is, quote, overwhelmingly excited by the agreement. Now, that tells me that it's probably really bad. Right, Jerry?
And whatever the Democrats decided to roll over on.
Yeah. One exuberant member, Dusty Johnson, Republican for South Dakota, claimed there were no wins for Democrats in the deal that had been reached. Not so, according to President Biden. And, well, Biden's not really a Democrat. And many of his fellow...
And Biden's not really president either. Let's just call it for what it is. It's weekend at Biden's.
Yeah, like I had mentioned that it's very likely that he's being operated by an early version of Elon Musk's brain chip. Which I'm like, well, I mean, we're getting there. I mean, AI is starting to scare the crap out of everybody. They're talking about these electronic things for body parts and brain chips and all this other stuff, and I'm like, we're getting pretty close to that Ghost in the Shell stuff. Some of you guys may not be familiar with Ghost in the Shell, but it's an anime series. It was a movie, and then they made it a real motion picture movie with Charlize Theron, if I remember correctly. Basically talking about how humans were going to eventually become integrated with technology, become like the next version of humans. Cyborgs, basically.
Yeah. With a computerized implant, something that is not organic, but that creates a collective.
Yeah. So,
Kathy, do you have B's in your bonnet, or what is the BS over and over and over again? She's talking about us, or she's talking about the debt ceiling?
She's angry about us poly-splaining. Well, look, Kathy, not everyone's as smart as you are. So I want to make sure that people understand this subject, and they get that Congress is really out to get us, and they think we're all stupid.
Well, getting back to this article you just read, that the Republicans are exuberant that that there were no wins for Democrats. So let's just quickly dissect that. If we're to assume that this country is divided by two parties, the Republicans are happy that half the population of the United States is not getting anything out of this deal because they deserve everything on their side.
The cruelty is the point.
Yeah, exactly. And they're proud of it. They're boasting and bragging about it. That's a good way to put it, the cruelty.
I'm chewing on crispy treats right now because I just need a little extra sugar, but
okay.
I'm going to keep it in the side of my mouth so I can hopefully talk. Okay. Not so, according to President Biden and many of his fellow Democrats who are spinning the deal as, quote, good news for the American people. Really? And while avoiding catastrophic default is undoubtedly good news, both for the American people and the rest of the world, there are plenty of reasons for concern. And she has a bunch of links, which you guys can read in the show notes, but she can say...
Your audio's disappeared.
Give me 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Hear me? It sounds like
How do I sound now?
You sound like somebody turned down your volume.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Did you accidentally hit your keyboard while eating your crispy treats? No one can hear you, Ed. Oh, wait. Mad Matt says he can hear you. But does he sound like his volume's gone down, Mad Matt?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not as loud, but wait a minute. Just go ahead, Ed. It's very possible. Oh. Just go ahead.
It could be an audio cancellation thing.
And hit the audio levels.
Do you have headphones on? You don't have headphones on.
No, Ed, hold on. Oreo hit the volume on my keyboard because he just can't stay out of my business. Sorry. That's what it was.
It was an unintended catastrophe.
Yes, catastrophe.
Okay. Arturo says he's been hearing me the entire time, even when I'm not streaming.
My fault. My bad. Actually, Oreo's bad.
Yeah, I think Oreo did it on purpose, though. He likes to mess with us.
Yeah.
All right. So, among other things, the deal would expand food stamp access for veterans and the homeless while imposing work requirements that make it harder for some Americans to qualify for the benefits they need. Now, I've been fairly vocal on Twitter about SNAP benefits, and as I have previously as I had previously mentioned, the federal government can spend, they never have a monetary limit. Anything they want to do, they can create the money to do it. So if they wanted to make sure that everyone had all the access they needed to food support, SNAP benefits, they could do it. They're choosing to create these little austerity moves like making it extremely hard to qualify, and then making people have work requirements in order to just get basic food assistance. They don't need to do this. They think that poor people are lazy just because they're poor. And Oreo agrees with me, I can tell. So, I've been calling for them to expand the SNAP program. And they should. They should make it easier for people to get food assistance, especially now when a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet.
I was going to say, let's get back to the debt ceiling conversation, though.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's video and a lot of stuff in the show notes.
Let's do that. Let me jump back over to, I can close the KayFabe video. I don't need that open anymore. Let's jump back over to Melty Joe. Melty Joe Biden. If I can, hold on. What's going on here? All right, here we go.
but that's the responsibility of governing.
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland joins us now from Capitol Hill. Scott, talk about making news on a holiday weekend here. So Speaker McCarthy has remained confident that the agreement is popular among Republicans on Capitol Hill. So here's was some of what he had to say yesterday.
More than 95% of all those in the conference were very excited. But think about this. We finally were able to cut spending. We're the first Congress to vote for cutting spending year over year.
That's not something to be proud of because you're not operating with a home budget. This is federal spending for programs that are desperately needed in order to support your constituents. You are cutting spending because you're either a dimwit or you think we're dumb.
Or both.
All right, Scott. So how are Republicans and Democrats speaking about this?
Or you forgot the third option. He's just a dickhole. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think that's a given, really.
House Republican leaders, the chairman of several committees, the head of the Republican conference all had a late afternoon news conference to champion this agreement, try to secure some support and galvanize their members to vote in favor of it. But it's becoming increasingly clear, Matt, the deal could lose people at either edge of the political spectrum. Some of the more progressive members of the House may have concerns with cuts to social programs. Some of the more conservative members of the Freedom Caucus think not nearly enough money at all is being cut in this deal. So let's listen first to the criticisms, one from a Republican from Virginia, the next from a Democrat from Pennsylvania.
I think it's an abysmal failure of Republican leadership. We were in a position of strength. We have the House majority. The polls were showing 80% support for either not cutting spending, not raising the debt limit, or only doing it with spending cuts. Only 20% were holding the president's view of just unlimited, unconditional raising the debt ceiling. So,
Yeah, see, this guy doesn't know MMT, or he's pretending he doesn't. And there he is, pretending like he's better than all of you. He's got his American flag with the rusted patina in there, and he's got all those pictures of his family behind him, and he's thinking that, oh, well, I could do it. Everything's fine for me. Why the hell should you guys all get some really nice stuff? Meanwhile, probably should look and see how many PPP loans this guy probably took out and didn't have to pay back.
All the businesses he's got on the side.
we were in a strong position.
While we averted the worst of the crisis. Again, compromise means sacrifice for the most marginalized and the most vulnerable.
Yeah, always.
Always our ultra rich, our corporations make any sacrifices at all. And these negotiations, they were never on the chopping block.
Yeah, so those tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, remember those things that Bernie Sanders used to talk about over and over again? He did that through both of his presidential election cycles. Yeah. And Democrats had every opportunity to undo those, and they never did.
They never will, because they're reliant on those donors just as much as the Republicans are, but they pretend that they're against it while they don't do anything. So yeah, that's the whole KayFabe element of Ed's lesson tonight.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is they could still keep those tax cuts and still give everybody all the social safety net programs and the healthcare and then fixing the infrastructure and all that other stuff, because the federal government is not a family budget.
And why is that, Ed? Because
because the federal government is the currency issuer. They issue the currency, the US dollars. The states and local governments are currency users. They use the money. They can't create money out of thin air. The federal government can.
But it also comes down to the point I wanted to make, that this is about class control. This is all... Yeah. While we're not seeing it manifest in a physical class war behind the scenes, that's what this is. Keeping everybody else down so that the upper class, the 1%, the higher class, the class that controls our Congress people, that our Congress and our elected representatives represent, not us, they're the ones who are getting everything out of all these deals.
So, I'm going to flip over to Stephanie Kelton's article one more time because she talks about reinforcing deficit myths. She says, for months, Speaker McCarthy has been telling the American people that Republicans wouldn't agree to raise the debt limit without a plan to get the nation's, quote, fiscal house back in order. Never mind that he and most of his Republican colleagues voted without any preconditions to lift the debt ceiling on 3 separate occasions when Donald Trump was president. To retain his gavel, McCarthy needed to cut a deal that his members could get behind. A number of Republicans have already indicated they will break ranks and vote against the deal. Okay. It's unclear whether McCarthy's speakership can survive a small uprising, but I suspect it won't matter in terms of passing legislation. The president wants a deal, and it looks like there will be enough support from Democrats in both the House and Senate to carry it forward. That I hope not. Here's the part I wanted to read. To sell the American people on the idea that it would be irresponsible to raise the debt ceiling without negotiating around the budget, McCarthy invoked every deficit myth in the book, literally. He took to the podium, Twitter, outdoor spaces, the hallways, and countless talk shows to complain that raising the debt limit is like allowing your child to go crazy with the family credit card. No, it isn't.
Well, when it isn't, because Ed just laid out what's really going on behind the scenes. So this is all,
he said, yeah,
it's like a psyop. It's propaganda.
He said it was, quote, common sense that the federal government, quote, can't afford to spend more than it takes in. Also false.
Keep in mind, everybody, to Ed's earlier point too that we talked about, if it were really impossible, if it were really a matter of spending more than we're taking in, as McCarthy claims, like letting your kid go crazy with the money in the house, it never seems to apply to military spending, though.
Mm-hmm.
Never. It's all of our. Yeah. When it comes to that, you look at pie charts. It's always military spending. If anything, it's increased with the more money that they're creating. That it isn't coming out of our federal tax dollars that we're paying.
Right. And so when he says more than it takes in, that's not even how federal spending works. It's not your tax dollars are not a revenue source for the federal government. Like I said, they're not sending you an invoice for your share of the federal government budget. They're not saying
your tax payment isn't like paying a bill that goes to the federal government.
Correct. He raised concerns about, quote, borrowing money from China to, quote, pay for social programs. Yeah, no, dude, that's not how that works. China actually, the reason why China would purchase U.S. Treasury bonds is because they can earn interest on those things, and because if they want to trade with the United States makes China and other countries pay for stuff in U.S. dollars. At least that's how they want that to go. We've already noticed that other countries are starting to look for other alternatives, especially when we're talking about oil. So, and that's a whole other story. That's a whole other rabbit hole we're not going to talk about tonight. But I'll continue the paragraph. And he invoked rhetoric that the national debt is a burden on future generations by saying, quote, every new child that was born today just got a $94,000 bill. No, dude. No, they did not.
Liar.
They
liar,
didn't.
Liar.
It's not how federal spending works, dude. So
to get our fiscal house in order. There's no fiscal house to get in order when the Fed is constantly making new money.
So this is why you shouldn't be surprised when other people who only watch the stuff they see on mainstream media don't understand that this is all bullshit. There's no excuse for this debt ceiling drama, and there's no excuse for Congress to tell you they can't afford to pay for things that we need to do that we actually need. So anytime someone says, how are you going to pay for it? And they're talking about federal spending, you say the same way that they pay for everything else. Congress passes a funding bill. That's it. That's all you do. They don't have to worry about where the money's coming from.
Kathy shares that we need to vote the splainers out. I'll go you one better, Kathy.
Take your torches and go!
This is the last I'm going to read from Stephanie Kelton's article, though. In response, President Biden said, quote, Speaker McCarthy and I have a very different view of who should bear the burden to get our fiscal house in order. You see my keys? Oh, okay. That last part was me. But this is the problem. Biden is going along with this KayFabe, pretending that we have to, quote, get our fiscal house in order and figure out how we're going to pay for stuff in the federal budget, when he knows damn well all they have to do is pass a bill. And so we get stupid crises like the debt ceiling. And what happens is, because Congress and the president are screwing around with America's full faith and credit, which is actually guaranteed in the 14th Amendment, that you cannot mess with the full faith and credit of the United States. Okay. It's there in the 14th Amendment. When the government, or when
Ed?
I say the government, yeah.
Ed, real quick, we're an hour in on Stephanie Kelton's article.
I understand.
Okay.
All right. I didn't have a ton of stuff going on here, but
okay. I just wanted to keep you.
I want to wrap this up here. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to wrap it up by saying, where was I going with this? Thanks, Sherry. Okay. I know I do this to him all the time, where I lose my train of thought, and he loses his train of thought.
I didn't mean to make you lose your train of thought. It's just that I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Okay. So the final thing on the other than I just wanted to quickly go. We can use the video for the rest of it, because I mean the article explains what the different things are that they wanted to raise and lower on that, but the video is probably going to be a little quicker for that. Where the hell was I going with that? Oh yeah, so yeah, let's just finish this thing here. We got two minutes left here. Oh, hold on. Oh. Hang on.
It's what they need. In the U.S. House, they need 218 people to vote yes for this. In the Senate, they need at least 60. The House vote could happen as early as Wednesday. And Matt, there's some sense here today into tonight that better have this vote Wednesday. The longer you give it, the more time you give to controversial legislation, the graver the risk of losing people who flip from yes to no, the more opposition can form. So if they want to thread this needle, they do need to thread it efficiently.
That's true. I mean, this has been talked about for weeks now, and here we are. So walk us through what's in the bill. What did each side get? What did each side give? I saw tweets from people like Congresswoman Lauren Boebert who were not happy about this. So what was the give and take here?
The only firm no's we're hearing right now are from the House Freedom Caucus, the more conservative members of the Republican conference. Let me tell you about the top lines. This extends the debt ceiling through 2025, through January 2025, which gets it right past the 2024 election, where a lot of people are comfortable not to have it placed. They also keeps the military, veterans, and Social Security funding where it is now, or maybe a slight increase, but that not.
Yeah, I'm just stopping that really quickly now. He's not keeping up with the way the graphics are written here, but he's basically saying that the defense budget's not going to change at all.
Of course.
Like, they should be cutting that thing.
That's the first place they should be cutting, because
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to.
Non-defense spending would be flat through 2024. That includes money for education, healthcare, transportation. And look at this. It claws back billions of dollars from the IRS, a backlogged agency for 2024 and 2025. Takes back unspent COVID funding. That is not a political.
Okay, that's a problem too.
Yeah.
Because there was so many roadblocks, so much red tape in order to get any kind of relief from the COVID funding. I mean, I personally could not get any kind of relief for my mortgage. I'm still hurting from that. And then, while other people who let their stuff go delinquent, whether it was rent or mortgage, got all kinds of funds to get current, nobody was able to actually just send a check out and say, here's what we'll give you to make you whole.
Well, Biden reneged on his promise too before during the election. We all remember how that went. Trump followed through on his promise with the checks that went out. Biden lied.
Still owes me $600.
Yeah, like that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And the truth, and VP Harris, well, when she was still a senator,
VP word salad.
Yeah, she was calling for $2,000 a month relief checks going back, a couple years, which would have given everybody, if they had gone back monthly from the time they started through the time they decided to end the pandemic or the emergency, like maybe 50 grand or more per person. Now imagine if they had cut checks to a bunch of people so that they could basically get themselves whole. I know I could use 50 grand right now. That would put me in a whole lot different position right now.
You know who was made whole? All the big businesses, corporations, especially the businesses that were run on the side by our Congress people.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen over and over again. What's the end game with this?
But could be some real money there. It loosens some environmental rules, and it adds those work requirements to social programs, including programs that provide money to people who need help buying food. That's going to be a thorny issue when House members return here.
Why? Why is that a thorny issue to help people be able to?
Because you're supposed to pick yourself up from your bootstraps, Ed, even if you don't have boots.
So annoying. All right. Was there more to that? I had. There's an article from CBS News. It's basically, it has a little more details. You guys can read that on your own. It's in the show notes. It gives a little more details on what's in the debt ceiling deal that they're trying to KayFabe agree on here. But basically, if the Dems and Republicans are doing a bipartisan deal, then odds are that the rest of us are getting screwed.
And odds are it's not really a bipartisan deal. It's really a Republican deal.
Yeah.
All this sacrifice that we're doing means that the Republicans don't sacrifice anything. Is that one guy said Democrats are getting nothing out of this, and they're bragging about it and pleased that they're fucking so many people over.
Yeah. So I know we're like 10 minutes away from 9 o'clock. I wanted to cover the $1 trillion coin really quickly though.
Okay.
There is an article on The Verge by Elizabeth Lapato. Yeah, I think that's the name. Elizabeth Lapato, titled Shut Up and Mint the Coin. And it's a clever article, but we just don't have time here. But I'll just read the first paragraph. It's time to mint the coin, sickos. If you have not been paying attention to the most tragically online sectors of the financial internet, here's a summary. The government is about to grind to a halt. Yes, again, to argue over the national debt. But there is a way out, and it's been known for years. What we do is mint a $1 trillion platinum coin. And like I said, I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but
what does that mean? No, that's something we need. You've already
I'm going to explain. Okay. I will explain.
Well, when you said that you weren't going to read the article anymore, I thought that meant that. Okay, go ahead.
I have a video too that explains it. If you want me to run the video,
I'll
it's
let
only
you.
2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead, run it. Yep.
Yeah, let's do that.
I want to know more.
I'm so fat, Brendan. You're not fat. It's the shirt.
Yeah, it's the shirt, Brendan. Okay.
The debt ceiling. It can be a bit confusing. That's why we verify. On social media, tweets like this suggest that the Treasury could simply mint $1 trillion coin to cover our costs rather than increasing our debt limit. Even lawmakers like Rashida Tlaib took to Twitter, writing #MintTheCoin. So let's verify. Can the Treasury simply mint a platinum coin worth $1 trillion? Here are our sources, a trio of economic and policy experts, and Michael N. Castle, a former governor and House representative from Delaware. We also look through Title 31 of the U.S. Code, where you'll find this important line, which says that the Secretary can mint an issue platinum coins of any specification, designs, varieties, quantities, denominations, and inscriptions, and that it's, quote, in the secretary's discretion. So we tracked down the man behind that section of code, Michael Castle.
So the short answer is
yes.
Yes!
Yes, we can mint a coin.
Original intent of this was for coin collectors.
He explains that he proposed that language back in the 90s as a way to sell coins to collectors and make the government a little bit of money.
This was just for small denominations, smaller denominations than the some of the money that's being talked about now.
So we could verify that technically, yes, the Treasury could simply mint a platinum coin worth $1 trillion.
Yeah. So even though he's saying that wasn't the intent, yes, the answer is still yes.
The law says they can.
Or more. But it's never been tried before. So to get some context, we took the idea to our 3 experts.
It is a workaround the debt limit that would make a bad situation even worse.
Now, to be clear,
That's his opinion.
that's crazy. I mean, this is not the sort of thing, the government should be doing. We want to have serious books and everything. But the reason why I put it forward and others have put it forward is the debt ceiling's crazy.
I think it would.
Notice it's all these economists who are basically, they're poo-pooing the idea, even though it can be done.
Make us look like a banana republic. This is something that kind of...
Okay, that statement also is kind of spurious, because from my perspective, and let me explain what they're doing here. They mint the $1 trillion coin, Jerry, and then they deposit it into the Federal Reserve, thus lifting the debt ceiling $1 trillion higher. So then there's no debt ceiling crisis.
Does this mean that businesses would lose out, though, if suddenly we didn't have a deficit ceiling, a debt ceiling?
What it basically does, from my perspective, is it ensures that we still are supporting the 14th Amendment that provides the full faith and credit of the United States. Now, people, from my perspective, the debt ceiling crisis is doing more damage to the economy and Wall Street and all that other stuff, because it's creating so much uncertainty, because Congress are a bunch of fickle children. And if a president actually decided that he's like, look, I'm not going to put up with this crap, we are making sure that our bills get paid. The 14th Amendment guarantees that. I'm minting a coin to make sure that you can't screw around with the full faith and credit of the United States. That is my perspective on that. Now, these guys, did you hear how scared and crazy and panicky they all sounded?
Yeah. Well, maybe they know something we don't. That would impact or make it or take away any way that they can exploit the system for their agendas.
Yeah, well, it's not unlikely that some of these guys maybe make money on volatility in the economy or the stock market. And so maybe that's what's going on there.
Congress could fix with a vote.
Also not on board, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who called this a gimmick that she does not support. With your verification.
Yeah, but it's a gimmick that would actually work and would actually accomplish way more than you have, Janet Yellen. So that's what it is that they're doing an end run around all these economists who are part of the problem.
Right.
And so that's our little $1 trillion coin segment here as we approach 9 o'clock. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner. I'm deep dish pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. With me, as usual, is Jerry Vasilatos, who also hosts the Friday show. He tends to not drive the show off into the ditch as often as I do, especially when his computer is cooperating. But we seem to be having a decent signal so far. If you guys are having problems, if you're noticing any little streaming glitches or issues, let us know. we'll try to address those moving forward. But hopefully, the show's been running rather smoothly for you out there.
I think we're good aside from the first 5 minutes, but
so
I don't think you're driving us off into the ditch. I'm just trying to keep us on the road.
Oh yeah. Well, when I say drive off into the ditch, I often go like on a tangent. Like I'll have a subject that has many other little angles to them that I often go off onto. But if you enjoy this content, I hope you will share this content with your friends and family and everyone else. Maybe share it with your enemies too. We'll take them all.
We love our hate watchers.
So yeah, share the streams on all your social media. If you'd like to support the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/Chicago Corner. And if you forgot where that is, head over to ChicagoCornerTV.com. We got buttons and links and all those other things, and it'll link you to all of our other social media things. We have links for we have useful links, I think is the section I named it. We post little updates there. We got our Twitter feed listed there, and it shows all the other platforms that we're currently streaming on. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for putting up with me and Jerry. And we're glad you're here. We're really happy you're here. What's up next on the thing here? We can get into the local stuff, huh? It's like I wanted to talk about the national stuff first, Jerry. I was like, we really should talk about this debt ceiling thing because it was pissing me off. But then we also got all of our local stuff happening, and I know Memorial Day weekend may not have gone over as great as we had hoped.
Well, can I speak to that really quickly?
Yeah.
If you've been following social media, everybody thought that Brandon Johnson was going to end crime a week after he was sworn in. Yeah. And to see all these maniacs on social media carrying on what the numbers are, the numbers would have been double under Palos Paul, let me tell you. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not perfect. You're not going to suddenly have a transition to a new leader in office locally and suddenly crime's going to go down. But everybody on social media that was supporting Paul Vallis and, aren't brave enough to go onto their social media accounts wearing their white hoods are just carrying on like Brandon Johnson, was literally handing guns out to everybody that committed violent crimes this week. If he wasn't on every other corner trying to prevent the gun violence that was happening. So it just blows me away how they're not even idiotic. It's just they will not be happy. Okay, they will not be happy if Brandon Johnson, if violence actually went down, if gun violence had gone down this first week that he's been in office, they would have been complaining it didn't go down far enough. So as tragic as it is that we've seen an upswing in the gun violence and the stats, he wasn't going to come in and solve all the problems in a fucking week, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know what you expected on this first weekend, but let's just see how WGN is talking about this really quick.
Oh, I can't wait.
The Memorial Day weekend ended with dozens of people shot in the Chicago area.
Some of the youngest victims had self-inflicted wounds, as our Glenn Marshall reports.
Yeah, police have just given us an update on the totals for this Memorial Day weekend. When it comes to gun violence, 53 people were shot. 11 of those have died. The youngest surviving victims are just 2 years old. Police are telling us that the toddlers shot themselves over the holiday weekend. We're told a 2-year-old girl shot herself on the 1500 block of West Jonquil Terrace Sunday evening around 6 p.m. But then 2 hours later, police responded to another scene with a toddler, a 2-year-old boy shooting himself in the forearm. This happened on the 7900 block of South Hermitage. In total, 53 people were shot, 11 dying. We saw more deaths this year in 2023 than back in 2022, when there was just more than 40 people who were shot and only 9 were killed. We did speak to Levante Stewart while grilling for the holiday. He started an anti-gun violence nonprofit called Lost Boys, but unfortunately, his 17-year-old son was shot in the leg and behind over the weekend. While his son is listed in good condition, the gun violence hitting close to home has him wondering why his family was attacked.
My son doesn't do anything. You hear this all the time, but I'm a community leader, a violence prevention leader. My son is a high school athlete, a community leader, a youth leader. And so he doesn't realistically live that type of life. So it's very confusing. Who would do this to us?
And so far, no one has been arrested for his son's shooting. If you have any information that could lead to an arrest in that shooting or others that happened on Memorial Day weekend, police would like you to contact them immediately. For now, we're outside of the police headquarters. I'm Glenn Marshall, WGN News.
Yeah, so...
And also, for everybody who doesn't live in the city with an opinion that all the horrible gun violence and crimes happen in the city and it's all Brandon Johnson's fault, a lot of them seem to have tuned out what happened last 4th of July up in Highland Park.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a buffer for all the complaints about what happens in Chicago. But you know what? Unfortunately, gun violence is happening everywhere. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people use it as a way here in Chicago to just demonize and vilify the people who get elected that they don't like or didn't want it. He's not going to serve their direct interests.
Right. So I was originally just going to look at the different articles from the Sun-Times over the last 3 years because they all basically very similar in how they covered the Memorial Day weekend. But this article from the Sun-Times just came out today, and I figured we'd start with that. City's most violent Memorial Day weekend in 7 years, quote, intolerable, Mayor Brandon Johnson says. Reducing crime wave will take time, says City Hall source, by Fran Spielman and David Struett of the Chicago Sun-Times. When Memorial Day weekend of 2020 ended with 39 people shot and 10 of them dead, well, okay, it's 11 now. I'm sorry, they're talking about 2020. And 10 of them dead. Then Mayor Lori Lightfoot called it a, quote, bloodbath and a, quote, fail by her newly hired police superintendent, David Brown. After this year's long holiday weekend ended with 59 people shot, 11 of them killed, Mayor Brandon Johnson said the level of violence, the most shooting victims since 2016, was intolerable. Quote, it produced pain and trauma that devastated communities across Chicago, and my heart breaks for everyone affected, Johnson said in a statement issued late Tuesday afternoon. Quote, that's why, as mayor, I am committed to leveraging every single resource at our disposal to protect every single life in our city. A City Hall source who asked to remain anonymous said, Johnson is well aware that reducing the violent crime wave that dominated the mayoral campaign will take time. Memorial Day weekend is a, quote, complicated ecosystem that involves, quote, multiple public safety challenges, the City Hall source said. This year, his administration distributed $2.5 million to 253 grassroots organizations so they could hold barbecues, sporting events, and other constructive activities for young people and families over the long holiday weekend.
And they did.
And they did. And that,
it was a valiant effort, even if it didn't suddenly turn the spigot off of idiots running around shooting at each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we would really could have expected this coming Memorial Day weekend, but I mean, we can. There's only so much. There's only so much rope that we're going to give him, on this until we have to start getting extremely critical on this.
I'm giving him a month until we get extremely critical because he needs a month.
Okay.
To basically ramp up, and if we're seeing, look, we have to see within the first month incremental change because it's not going to happen in one day or 1 week. But after a month, that if we don't at least see some chipping away, then we're going to have to be, a little bit more honest in our assessment and critical and like, what's taking so long? City Council approved all of the seats that he wants to fill with his choices. He had a good plan going in. I think it was a decent effort and a decent showing before Memorial Day to commit this much to these programs. But again, it wasn't going to happen in a week. But I'd say after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we should start hearing some better things.
Yeah.
By the way,
to be fair,
I have to make a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry.
And to be fair, he's still working with a transitional team. This is a team that Brandon Johnson, is working with. Some of them were on Lightfoot's team initially, and so he doesn't have the full staff that he's started with. So I mean, I'm not going to be an apologist for Brandon Johnson. We're going to tell it like it is, but I think we need to cut him a little slack at this point. It's not acceptable that those people are getting shot and that those people are dying, and we need to see some progress there. And we can be sure that on Chicago Corner we're going to be keeping an eye on this to see what kind of progress is happening. Let me just jump into the live chat really quick here. Gamer for Life, good to see you. Yes, I was checking out RBN over on Rumble earlier today. Revolutionary Blackout Network. They had their they lost their streaming privileges on YouTube. They got a channel strike for, I can't remember what it was for, but it's some dumb censorship thing. So if you have a problem with censorship like a lot of us independent streamers do, you look for alternatives to that. And so like I said earlier, we're on YouTube, but we're also streaming on Rockfin. And I'm looking into getting us onto Rumble as well, because Rumble seems to be a similar experience to the way YouTube's live chat and streaming viewing is. So if you think that you want to broaden your horizons on your streaming platforms, and YouTube or Facebook or whatever is doing it for you, look into other alternative platforms like Rockfin or Rumble. So like I was saying, Jerry, I saw Gamer for Life while I was watching a Revolutionary Blackout Network over on Rumble.
Oh yeah.
And I was saying that we should probably get ourselves set up over there when we get a chance, because who knows when the algorithm robots are going to start coming after us like they did RBN and so many other independent streamers.
Well, when our numbers when our numbers get higher is when they're going to come after us. Because at this point, we're not any kind of they don't consider us any kind of an influential threat. When you get a lot more subscribers is when suddenly they realize time to turn you off.
Although, speaking of subscribers, I think we got about 1,610 over on YouTube, but I was shocked to see that we have more over on Rockfin. I think we got like 1,900 subscribers over there now.
And not many people watch us over there, but I also noticed our numbers per broadcast are going up. Like last Friday's show, we've got over 300 views now.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them are watching us live versus Memorex.
A lot of
They're
stuff
probably watching us after. But it's not too often I'm seeing people in the chat over there on Rockfin. Once in a while, Uncle Warren will jump over there and chat with us, and there's a couple regulars who tune in once in a while. But mostly the chatting happens on YouTube. Sometimes we'll get some people chiming in from Facebook or Twitter. Let us know where you're watching us from. Head over to ChicagoCornerTV.com, and there's a little poll in there that you can tell us where what platform you're watching us on. Anyway, so I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, I was talking about how we're going to keep an eye on Brandon Johnson. It's not acceptable that those people are getting shot and dying, and he realizes that it's going to take a while to make some things happen, and he has a transitional staff right now, so some of them might not be here in a little while. He may replace those people.
So Gamer for Life commented, true, if you're a bigger YouTuber telling facts, and they will go after you. They don't go after the smaller channels. Well, I hope you're not suggesting that we're not telling the facts. We just don't have enough people listening to them is the problem.
No, he knows. He knows what's going on.
I know. I'm just giving him shit.
Because so
appreciate
support independent media, ladies and gentlemen. Because it's hard enough for people to find out that we exist. And so we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in and watching us. Let me pick up the end of this article here. Okay. This year, his administration distributed $2.5 million to 253 grassroots organizations so they could hold barbecue, sporting events, and other constructive activities for young people and families over the long holiday weekend. Another part of the challenge is securing, quote, public congregate spaces like lakefront beaches, downtown and neighborhood commercial corridors, and street festivals. That requires a, quote, significant presence of police officers, the source said. There was a lot of activity going on, and that activity was safe by and large. We had additional activity going on because of these community organizations all over the city, and they had many successful events engaging families and young people in particular. We didn't see that significant incidents that we've had downtown for the most part, by and large, the City Hall source said, and without mentioning the shooting that closed North Avenue Beach for a few hours on Friday afternoon. Where we struggled was obviously on some of the shootings and homicides, and primarily we struggled between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. That's
what,
something
Brandon wasn't on each of those corners between midnight and 4 a.m. wearing a cape
Right.
and towel, stopping all the crimes? What?
I'm Brandon Man.
I'm Brandon Man.
So I was, yes. Are we near the end of the article?
That's what I mean, though. It's like, all these people on. He just stated when most of the crimes took place, and you know what? I would imagine
Between midnight
also,
and 4.
Yeah, that's probably also. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'm imagining maybe CPD is a little understaffed during that period. Although I think going into Memorial Day, they should have known to put more people on. I don't know if they did, but
well, they did. I mean, they did make a thing about telling the public that they were, canceling days off, but they do that every Memorial Day weekend. So that wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So the only thing I can imagine different, between midnight and 4 a.m. is how they manage their crime prevention resources in the CPD. That's just me saying, are you guys going to help him out, or are you going to be a thorn in his side for this whole time?
I think we know what they're going to do.
Because do you
they're gonna
care about the city, or you just care about your pension?
And they'll be going to people in Naperville to give their opinions on it.
And you guys know who I'm talking about. So
I also, have heard a lot on everybody on social media that's complaining about all the gun violence in Chicago and stuff. Somebody personally, mentioned to me that there were shootings in Lakeview, and they didn't feel safe because they live near Lakeview. And I'm like, I've had two. I talked about this last show. I've had 2 shootings in the alley behind my house, this way and that way, in the past 2 years, and both were fatalities. And you know what? I don't feel any less safe in my home. I could walk out and get shot anywhere. I could walk out and get shot a block from here. I could walk out and get shot at a 4th of July parade up in Highland Park. We can't hide underneath our beds, especially when so many on social media that are driven by political agendas keep peddling in the fear porn. Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Everybody, you can walk out of the house and get hit by a fucking car. Nobody's ever really safe. But if you want to make yourself feel unsafe and keep feeding into this, I would suggest you just stay at home and hide under your beds all day long, because nothing until we've got a month to see a lot of these other programs and policies and plans get into place. Everybody that expects it was going to happen overnight is delusional.
Yeah.
So
it's not in this article, but I mean, I didn't want to go through each Sun-Times article, but I did want to mention the differences between the years. So in 2021, 104 people were shot. 19 of them were killed. And the Sun-Times headline also mentions that 16 kids were among the wounded. In 2022, that was last year, 51 people shot over the Memorial Day weekend, the most violent in 5 years, the headline says. So, and it was, I looked in the article, it was 42 wounded and 9 killed. Now, this year, it says 11 killed, but that there must have been 2 that died overnight, because the previous night they were saying 9. again. So 46 wounded, 11 killed. And it just says in more Memorial Day weekend violence in Chicago. So,
but you know what these numbers say to me, Ed? If we've been spending so much money on police and overtime to stop crime, to stave it off, to prevent it, and the numbers are going up, is all that money going into police overtime and more police reducing crime? No. Why?
Nope.
Because we're not reallocating resources to get to the root causes of crime. The more desperate, abandoned people that you have, the more people that don't feel that their life is worth anything. So there's really no risk in committing crimes because they've been abandoned anyway. That number is just going to keep going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, and the more generations that you allow this type of thing to continue, the harder it becomes to reverse these kinds of trends.
That's right.
So for anyone expecting some miracle to have happened over the Memorial Day weekend with numbers dropping, I mean, look, it was a great effort for them to put all these community events out there, but clearly, whatever the causes of those weekend violence things that have happened over the last several years have not yet been addressed by Brandon Johnson, who's only been in office since when was he in?
Because you need it's going to take some time to get to the root causes of the violence. Now, for everybody that says, "Oh, Palos Paul would have come in, man," we need someone. I spoke to someone who claimed that who was a Democratic liberal who shared with me in their old age they're getting less and less liberal because Old Man Daley wouldn't have let this stuff stand. They said they felt that we need an authoritarian like Paul Vallis would have been. Let me tell you something. Had Paul Vallis won and he put more cops on the streets this weekend to make everybody feel like they were going to be safe and that the cops were going to prevent crime, I'm telling you the numbers would have been the same. Because you're thinking magically like, well, more police mean less crime. No, more police mean more arrests after the crimes take place. Police don't prevent crime. Prevention. Everything that's being peddled is reactive. If we put more people in jail, and I'm not saying we shouldn't put more people in jail. I'm not saying that cops shouldn't do their job arresting people, but that's how people's brains are like wired, miswired to think, well, then that's going to solve the problem. The more people that go to jail, then I'm going to feel safe. Are you? Because the crimes are still going to happen. The gun violence is still going to happen.
And they also don't realize that Old Man Daley is the reason why we have this problem in the first place.
Most segregated city in the nation.
So,
Dominic is chiming in here real quickly. Let's pop this up and share his wisdom. While we look to the mayor for public safety, there are also 50 alderpersons that are equally responsible for the behavior of our police department and city support organizations.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have some of those organizations working to improve those things. And when I know our police district councils are a little further down on the chain as far as making those changes, it'd still be nice to talk to our guest when she gets to reschedule to
Friday
to be able to talk about that. Oh, you think she'll? Okay, that'd be cool.
Tentatively Friday. She wasn't available tonight. I've stayed up with her, caught up with her, and we're looking at this Friday. Hopefully, if something doesn't change in her schedule.
Okay,
and that's Veronica Ariola, who's with the who's a member of the 24th District Police Council here in the 40th Ward, 50th Ward. That's right, 50th Ward.
Oh, and I just wanted to share this headline with you because of its absurdity.
Yeah, this is the one I was looking at in the show notes and waiting till you got to this.
And so, new rule for all the media from this point forward: all crime reporting in Chicago must include the distance in inches, feet, or miles from Brandon Johnson's home.
Yep. So we can hold him accountable.
So so the headline says, "Man charged in fatal stabbing after woman's body found in alley near Mayor Brandon Johnson's home."
You know, let me also say, Ed, I think
that's not to trivialize the story.
No. I think I made a point, though, even during Lightfoot's administration, for everybody that, claimed all the numbers were going up. I think I made the same point. What is she supposed to do? And what are the police supposed to do to prevent crimes from happening, even when they've been beefing up presence in the streets and adding to the police budgets? How are police going to be on every corner, on every doorstep, looking through the windows to make sure nobody pulls out a gun and decides to go crazy? It's not how it works.
No.
But
and even if they
it's how we've
were,
been
they
conditioned.
still couldn't stop crime that way.
Yeah.
It's like, there's only so much you can do statistically with a right place, right time situation for law
You know how you could
enforcement.
stop crime? I'll tell you how you could stop crime. And I don't think anybody's going to be for this, even though I do suspect that these little gadgets in our pockets act as listening devices that monitor us all the time. That the Amazon Alexa, of which I think is already doing monitoring for the National Security Council, since Bezos has got a big fat contract with them. But the only way you're going to prevent crime is not with more police on the streets. It's with more invasive monitoring. Because if you have everything wired and everything videoed and stuff, and you can see when stuff's going to happen, that's really the only way you can stop a crime as it happens, or before it's about to start, or get cops there really, really quickly.
But Jerry, if we have like a total surveillance state where they get cameras and audio and everything watching every single move that everyone makes, how are the cops going to get away with all that crap they usually get away with?
That's a good point, Ed.
Yeah. So, Mad Matt, good to see you. It says Arnell Smith, 64, was charged with first-degree murder and concealing a homicide. The woman's body was discovered in the 5700 block of West Chicago Avenue. So, yeah, a fatal stabbing.
Do they have?
Not good.
I mean, just I'm out of curiosity.
You want me to read
what's
the
the
story?
connection? But yeah, what's the connections with this 70? How old? Oh, go up. Well, how old was he?
64.
And the victim, was there? I mean, do they have any motive or just any?
Let me see if it says anything about that. Wrists were bound by a phone charging cord. Oh boy!
Wow.
Laceration to the neck and injuries to head. And, oh boy!
Oh, well, read the because it's like you're scrolling and I can't.
I'm trying to find the part where it says how he knows her.
Oh,
If
okay.
there's a connection.
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't say. Doesn't say.
Okay.
But odds are probably newer. If they've.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, if he
actually, I
bound
guess
her ahead of time, that she had to. I mean, to be in a situation where he could like do that, I would imagine that she was familiar with him or knew who he was.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, well, see, this is like where I like. Sorry, the strategy that Brandon Johnson has of hiring more police detectives, I think is the correct one, because people all want to talk about why aren't police solving crimes? Well, they're police; they're not detectives. They're a reactionary force. They're not there to stop crime; they're there to react to it. If they're in the right place, right time, there's a chance that they could stop crime.
Yeah,
but that's not what police force does. So, but that was all I really wanted to cover on that. So yeah. So again, any crime in the city, you have to include the distance from Brandon Johnson's home in your article.
I'm sure most of the coward white hoods on social media will do that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a thread from Good Kids Mad City over on Twitter. They're GKMC18 on Twitter, and I guess at the time they started this thread, the only 9 people had died. Because they're listing the 9 that everyone else heard about last night. Says, any life lost is one too many. Let's mourn and pray for the 9 we lost this weekend. It's 11. And get trauma-informed care and resources for the 47 gun violence survivors. Even though numbers are lower this year, they clearly weren't looking at statistics when they said that. It's not good enough. We need to pass the peace book now. They've been pushing for this peace book ordinance.
What is the peace book ordinance?
I hate that I knew you were going to ask me that.
Oh, well, that's all right. Look it up then. If you don't have that information, that's all right.
If you go to #peacebook, Maybe they'll tell us what that ordinance is. What is it? Yeah, see, someone else is asking that question too. What's the peace book? Here we go. Stand by for peace book information. And thank you for tuning in to Chicago Corner. The Peace Book Ordinance establishes the Peace Book, a public safety resource that informs communities about the Peace Book Commission. The commission includes approved peacekeepers, violence interrupters, mediators, circle keepers, and restorative justice practitioners. The Peace Book also provides a directory of services and programs for youth and families. Now, I'm gonna paste this link into the live chat if you guys want to read up on that. But essentially, some of that has kind of been deployed already. I mean, Brandon Johnson over this past Memorial Day weekend was working with violence interrupters and mediators and stuff. You know, they got like 30. There's 30 in the city that are working full time, and then I think we mentioned on a previous show that there's a bunch of part timers as well. That news never really mentions. They just focus on those 30. But there really are a whole lot more violence interrupters in the city. Maybe it's on purpose that they're not telling you that there really are a lot more people trying to keep the peace.
Or focus on the ones that
yeah.
fell through the cracks that have gang affiliations, which is what I also saw a lot on social media.
Yeah, so let's see if I can get back to the thing here. So back to Good Kids Mad City. This is a thread that they have here. They say, since Chicago's mayor was just sworn in May 15th, he had to immediately take steps to try and reduce gun violence for Memorial Day weekend. We believe his administration's strategy was effective in comparison to 2021 and 2022. 2021 was especially horrific. I don't know where they're getting their stats from, because if we're just looking at numbers, but it sounds like maybe they're talking about more than just the Memorial Day weekend. To his credit, unlike Lightfoot, the Johnson administration gave grassroots orgs access to resources, money, and Chicago institutions like CPS schools to host community-led programs. This should be the floor and not the ceiling. So much more needs to happen. Yeah, and on that, they're absolutely right.
Yep.
We're talking about just the basic floor of the things that need to change, and he's been mayor for a week and a half, right?
Yeah, and he hasn't ended crime as we know it.
Yeah. So give him another day or two.
Another day or two. It's like at the end of The Dark Knight, the Dent Act that stopped crime immediately. You know, suddenly 10 years Gotham was safe.
Yes, we now declare that crime is done. It's over. You're not doing it anymore. No more crime. Stop doing that. Seriously?
I was just about to go off into a ditch with something, but can I make a quick little point?
Yes.
Since I mentioned The Dark Knight and how crime suddenly ended after the death of Harvey Dent in that movie, when you really think about it, it was the Joker who basically ended up busting up all the crimes in Gotham City, all the gangs, as a result of what the Joker did, getting rid of all of the gangsters and organized crime. The Dent Act went into enforcement, and suddenly, hey, even though they lied about Harvey Dent, it did stop crime because the Joker had the effect on all the mafia. I'm waiting for Kathy to go yawn. But if you really analyze that script,
okay, I'm done talking about the Memorial Day weekend.
All right.
We got more stuff we can talk about for the city. Here's some kind of good news, I think. Jerry, you might have varied opinions on this, but let me play this video for you.
And why, pray tell, do you think I might have some opinions about this?
Related to available parking in the city.
Okay. It's a good setup.
It is a proposal that would make expanded outdoor dining in Chicago permanent, and it goes before the city's license committee today. CBS 2's Mugo Adigwe details what's in the plan and what it could mean for area businesses.
During the pandemic, many businesses and restaurants relied on outdoor patios to serve customers and bring in revenue. They are hoping they can do the same thing this year.
This
pause it.
patio was a
Okay, I got
lifesaver
it,
for
I
us
got it.
during the pandemic.
So they want to take advantage of the commons, the streets, and the sidewalks that are taxpayer funded and supposed to be serve the taxpayers. All these restaurants want to start crowding that along with the bike lanes that are also congesting traffic. Is that basically, I mean, in a nutshell, did I cut to the chase here?
That's kind of where I thought you were going to go with that.
All right,
I was
let's
like,
hear the rest.
okay.
We would literally not be here without having the expanded outdoor dining program.
Hagen Dost is the owner of Dovetail Brewery. He says being able to
Big-
expand
that's a
patio
big
seating
business. That's a
during the
big space.
pandemic helped his.
Why does he need the outdoors when he's got such a huge shell of a building? Aside from what he's got out there, he wants to expand now into the street. Wow.
Well, I mean, they're probably going to say, but my take is that so many restaurants and businesses got hit so hard during the lockdowns that they were looking for any kind of possibility to keep their businesses afloat. And when they had the option of doing these outdoor dining setups, it helped. It saved a lot of businesses.
But it was never meant to be permanent, though. And I guess that's the point. Look,
Yeah.
I'm seeing when I went out to the store today, where did I go? I went to a 7-Eleven on the way home, grab a sandwich on the way home. And guess what was different at the checkout counter? That goddamn plastic barricade was gone. The plastic shield is gone. So we are returning to normalcy, whereby I don't have a problem with what I'm seeing here on the sidewalk, but the expansion into the streets, I don't think so, man. I don't think we've got that. I don't think we've got that.
I think it's
the epidemic health crisis anymore that prevents people from being inside around each other when you need to have people outside where there's free flow of air.
I think it's going to have to be a case by case basis as to whether it makes sense to close off a part of a street that maybe wasn't normally traveled anyway and is better serving the public.
Yeah, well, they'll
as
take
a
advantage of
space
that
for people.
But they'll take advantage of that everywhere, though, Ed. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
is the
well, they
more
go into
space-
a little bit of that in the video too.
All right, I'll shut up then.
His business. And that's exactly why Chicago's expanded outdoor dining program was created during the pandemic, allowing eligible restaurants and bars to operate on the roadway in front of or adjacent to their establishment. The program expired last year, meaning the future of some outdoor dining areas could be in jeopardy. Now, Mayor Brandon Johnson is introducing a new proposal that would make the expanded dining program permanent. For Dost, that's crucial. In his words, the pandemic may be over, but it's not over for small businesses.
Well, it should be permanent. I think it's the job of the city to make life better for Chicagoans, and one of the ways that you can make life better is help people enjoy like the few months of good weather that we have.
I'm sorry. Yeah, for them, not people who are trying to get places using the streets. It's all about them.
Well,
whether it's
but
the
what
bike
if that's the
people-
place they're trying to get to, Jerry?
No, well, they're not going to find any parking close by if all of those tables are out in the street.
I
just, unless this guy want to buy the street or buy the property. This is really more the needs of the few outweighing the needs of the many.
I've almost become resigned to the fact that I'm not going to find parking when I go downtown. And so it's not as huge of an issue for me because I'll either take public transportation or one of the rideshare things. But I understand. It's like when people are used to driving places or finding parking in areas which normally have available street parking, and now that's no longer an option. That's probably.
Do you know who they're not taking into consideration, though, Ed? Which is my big pet peeve here: seniors.
Sure.
People with mobility issues.
Yeah.
We might be a minority, but the fact that you're congesting things more, and I don't know how much you followed on social media, all these crazy bike people who want entire neighborhood streets shut down so that they can just use their bikes in them. I'm not kidding, man. It's like there's a militant faction of bicyclists that think that everybody's supposed to give up their cars so they can have their green space to bike. I love biking, Okay. But I don't feel that when I bike or if I bike, I'm entitled to take over that whole goddamn street. The streets were put into place for motor vehicles.
What
we
it
talked
is
about this so many times
yeah.
before.
We have different people focusing on their own social issues or public issues, and it's really easy to get myopic in the issue that you may be supporting. So what happens is you get bikers who are only focused on the biking aspect of it. You get people who drive are primarily focused on not losing access to parking.
But
and
here's
you
the
get
thing, though, Ed.
pedestrian, or you get people who are dealing with disabilities.
My argument is not because I want to have more parking and because I feel that we should rule the roads. My problem is that we have underused and in many cases unused sidewalks in long stretches that are not in business or shop corridors that are empty while they put bike lanes on the street to narrow the lanes, which is along with the construction is causing the congestion and the breakdown of anybody being able to get anywhere throughout the city. Okay. We talked about this in the past. There should have been some kind of compromise with it. It's not going to be hard to create rules that if you've got the rules of the road with traffic that we're all supposed to learn, can't there be rules of the road with bicyclists when they can safely navigate, when they can use a sidewalk as opposed to take up the street, widening the bike lane so that all of the traffic arteries throughout the city are now narrowed, increasing congestion?
I feel like we need to get Jerry and Kathy and some of the guys, some of the bike advocates into a city planning meeting where they all air their grievances and come to a situation of a compromise so that everybody can get around the city with access to public access to public transit, with proper access for people with disabilities and mobility issues, with access to people who are trying to get around the city by bike or car. These things can be solved. We just have to find out how to get all the people in the room who are needing to communicate.
They'll never come to compromise, Ed. There's been a little given when Rahm Emanuel decided to create the bike lanes, and it's just they want it all. I drove downtown like for a meeting, I think it was a week ago, 2 or 3 o'clock, and every street that I tried to take to avoid the congestion of the traffic from the construction on the expressway was congested further because of bike lanes.
Oh, you know what?
You suffer from this when you come back from work yourself. You've told me.
Yeah, I've actually realized one possible bottleneck and a solution, but it's that we need to create more. What do they call it? The underpasses under the train tracks than currently exist.
Or Lakeshore Drive, or an overpass or an underpass.
Because there's
all the jobs that would create overpasses and underpasses.
There's only so many north-south streets that you can access that will bypass the train tracks without having to worry about that. It's like I'm trying to get back north from my south side job, and I'm like, I can't turn onto California Avenue and drive straight through because it runs into the tracks and stops. And then it continues on the other side. You have to take a different street to get there. Like, was it Sacramento or Western Avenue? If they had more underpasses for some of those train tracks, you could alleviate major points of congestion during rush hour, even if you didn't have full access to the expressways.
They could figure out an infrastructural plan, Ed, that reroutes bicycle traffic to long trails like they did with that railroad path that went through the city,
like the 606, or you could have basically bike streets. Or
we can't drive on the 606. So why do bicyclists think that they can have free reign over roads that were built for cars?
And there's probably simple infrastructure to prevent cars from accidentally roaming into the bike paths. And so I think it's just a matter of people communicating what the issues are and figuring out where the solutions are going to be.
Well, I will go to my grave saying that there is a way to implement bicyclists being able to use sidewalks without endangering pedestrians in certain areas.
Look,
that they should.
We need flying cars, Jerry.
Well,
That's
that
what
too.
it is.
Well, that's going to cause a whole other problem with air traffic control. But
Yeah, but with the flying cars, that frees up a lot of the surface roads for bikers, though.
But who's going to be able to use the flying cars? They're going to probably have restrictions on who can use them.
And maybe that's going to be one of those situations where the flying cars have an automated track that they go on, like monorails, but you just set the destination and it automatically transports you there over the air.
I have a better solution. Jetpacks.
Jetpacks are fun too.
Yes.
I totally want to do that Rocketeer thing sometime.
Yes, we'll all be Rocketeers flying around the city.
That's a great movie, by the way. If you guys
It
have
is.
never seen The Rocketeer.
Mad Max Chicago. Oh, you just no, I'm not. But you know, when I ride, given the fact that I know my limitations wearing my prosthetic leg on a bicycle make it more difficult for me to drive and bike in traffic, and I don't want to be in a precarious situation where while I'm biking I lose control and a car hits me. I bicycle at night when there's barely any traffic, and I use sidewalks because I don't expect cars on the road to be able to see me, and I don't expect that they should defer to me when I can't move fast and I'm basically making it dangerous for cars. Honestly, I love biking and the rare occasions that I do it, and I try to force myself to go out and do it. But I also understand these roads were not made for a person on a bicycle to travel safely, to that you're now changing everything to accommodate them, losing sight of what they were built for and how they're supposed to accommodate traffic flow.
Yeah, it's just
bikers. I think they're just out of control.
Yeah, it's crazy trying to retrofit bike lanes into the way the city's currently set up with the grid and a lot of these narrower streets. And if we had the proper resources to really redo the infrastructure, we likely wouldn't be having so many conversations about where bike lanes should and should not be going.
I also have a theory, Ed, why it was rushed and so ill-conceived. Because the city had to do a deal with Divvy.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder who benefited from Divvy putting their bike stations all across the city in that deal. Follow the money, man.
I can imagine.
I think that all of these bike lanes, the increase in bike lanes was to accommodate the contract that Divvy got into with the city, of which somebody, Rahm Emanuel, had to benefit from. That's my speculation on that.
What the hell do you expect, Jerry? I mean, I didn't think I was going to be Ambassador F-Face of Japan back when I was mayor. I had to figure out, what kind of sweetheart deals I was going to get.
Yeah, before 16 shots and a cover-up, Rom.
I would like to thank the great mayor of the city of Chicago, Mayor Emanuel, for help making this happen today.
Yeah, see, they all love me, Jerry. They love me. But you can't catch me, sucker.
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, we got to give Jerry a second for his mic to come back into things there, because I think he's on a little bit of a delay. But I'm just going to play the rest of this video here while we're waiting.
In this city?
This time, though, the expanded dining program would also give older people the power to approve or deny patio permits based on particular requirements. Doe says he's fine with that.
It's the alderman's job also to protect the neighbors from bad and disreputable businesses.
Again, the ordinance is expected to go before the license committee today before going to the full city council tomorrow. We'll let you know what comes out of it. In North Center, Mugo Odigwe, CBS 2 News.
So city council will be taking it up tomorrow. So along with probably that $51 million that they wanted to spend on migrant support and all that other stuff.
That migrant support that former mayoral candidate who will not be named has basically spoken out against.
Oh, I got an ad playing. What the hell? Okay, sorry.
We're not seeing it.
Yeah, it was hitting me in the headphones there. I'm like, oh, I can't hear what Jerry's saying. Shut up, ad.
No, what I said, the migrant support that a former mayoral candidate has been complaining about on social media that shouldn't be granted.
Yeah, that guy.
The one who supported Palos Paul. The one who gave a press conference in front of City Hall the other day that makes him think he's still relevant after his complete betrayal of his own community supporting Palos Paul.
Yeah, I can't recall his name, though.
I can't either.
Guess he's nobody important.
Yeah, not anymore.
So I got, what else do I got in my stories today? Oh, yes. I got this story, too. Who's that guy you got up on the screen, Jerry?
No idea.
It doesn't look familiar to me.
Mm-mm. I just can't believe I just can't believe that there are some people like him that are carrying on instead of saying, the reason being, and we talked about this, was that there are underserved communities that should be getting the same kind of support, the homeless and the neighborhoods. And instead of denying those that need the help who are coming in because you didn't get it, why not demand everybody that's underserved gets it?
Yeah, well, and he's still going on under the whole playbook that he doesn't think the city has enough money to do both. And he doesn't understand that Chicago's not broke, like Tom Tresser tells us in that book.
Yeah.
By the way, if you head to ChicagoCornerTV.com and look at the list, our reading book list, that book is also there if you're looking for that book. So it's called Chicago's Not Broke by Tom Tresser. And essentially it talks about how we've got this gigantic TIF slush fund. And, that's money that the city could use for things. But here, speaking of money the city could use for things, DuPage County is exploring cutting water contract with Chicago, building pipeline to Lake Michigan. Now, DuPage County is currently purchasing water from Chicago, the Lake Michigan water from Chicago. Now, my first thought about seeing this headline was DuPage County is not, it doesn't touch Lake Michigan at all, Jerry. If they wanted to build a pipeline, they'd have to go through either Cook County or Lake County to get to Lake Michigan, which means they would have to get permission to drill to run a pipeline through Chicago, which I'm sure Chicago wouldn't be thrilled about since they're currently selling the water from Lake Michigan to them. Or they'd have to cut a deal with Lake County and then run it like north of Chicago to get to Lake Michigan. Now, here's the article. Says, citing rising rates and unresponsiveness from City Hall, DuPage County, Chicago's biggest water customer, has taken initial steps to cut off its lucrative contract and build its own pipeline to Lake Michigan. Now, why the hell would Chicago City Hall not want to keep selling water to DuPage County?
I don't know. Do you know? Is this article going to get to it?
Let me see. It says the massive undertaking, which would cost billions of dollars and was once considered almost unthinkable, comes at an inflection point in the region's water system as the DuPage Water Commission's 40-year agreement with Chicago is ending March 2024. It also comes just weeks after Chicago inked a historic deal to sell water to the city of Joliet at an attractive rate. The outcome of negotiations between Dupage and Chicago will undoubtedly affect water rates for the roughly 1 million consumers the Dupage Water Commission serves, as well as Chicago's bottom line. The city received $113 million from Dupage customers during Dupage's 2022 fiscal year. Annual DWC billings represent about 30% of the annual revenue the city receives for water from suburban customers, according to Chicago's Department of Water Management. 30% from Dupage. If Dupage decides to break away and build its own water system, it could also snap up other suburban customers as more aquifers that have provided water to those towns run dry in coming decades. Chicago officials said securing a new contract with Dupage is a top priority, but Dupage officials said they feel they've been getting the runaround from City Hall for years and want to know why they're paying roughly double what Joliet is expected to pay under a deal that recently departed Mayor Lori Lightfoot hailed as a big financial victory for Chicago. Right now, all water consumers on the Chicago system pay the same rate, $4.54 per 1,000 gallons, said Paul May, DWC's executive director, who asked Chicago officials what DWC's rate would be under the cost of service model included in the Joliet contract. Though the official rate is not yet established, May said he was told it's about half of what we're currently paying, or about $2.50 or $3 per 1,000 gallons. Essentially, what they've done is they've acknowledged that the value of commodity that they're producing that we sell on their behalf is about half of what they're charging us for it, May said. Water won't start flowing to Joliet until 2030. The best practice, May said, is that cost of service model where, in addition to the amount of water used, a custom rate is calculated based on the cost of the infrastructure built to deliver it and how efficiently the water travels. A grandmother with a half-inch meter would pay less, for example, than an industrial water user with a 14-inch pipe.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Am I moving?
Yes. Yeah,
my Brave browser is frozen. My yours frozen. I'm frozen, although I can hear you. I think I'm gonna.
Video looks good.
Yeah, I don't know. The Brave browser is suddenly acting like Chrome, Ed. I don't get it. I don't get it. Worked fine Friday, and now here we are again.
Yeah, well, you look fine on my end, Jerry. So we'll.
I guess I can stay with it. I'm just
that.
All right. If I disappear,
I'm wrapping this up because it's basically it just sounds like the Dupage Water Commission is getting frustrated because they're not getting proper feedback or a fair deal compared to the Joliet deal they just cut, and they're probably looking to renegotiate. And of course, while they're doing that, they're looking at their options of possibly running their own water pipe down to Lake Michigan. And my guess is, since if they're trying to get off of Chicago's supply, they're probably going to have to run through Lake County. So that would be my thinking there, which means they'd have to go north of the city in order to get access to the pipeline. And then what will probably happen then is if DuPage County is the one building the new pipeline to Lake Michigan, they're going to end up leasing water out to a whole bunch of other suburbs as well. And Chicago probably doesn't want that, because Chicago is getting some decent revenue by providing water to these suburbs.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting story that I came upon. Okay. I did have an article from WBEZ where they're talking about all this stuff that passed in the Illinois legislature, the state of Illinois. I can run down that really quick. Some of it passed in both houses, but some of it is only passed in the state house, so might still have to go through. So they passed their $50.4 billion budget in the state of Illinois. they passed some legislation on all gender bathrooms. It's setting standards for the all gender multi-occupancy restrooms, because I guess they didn't have guidelines on that before, and now they do. So that should be no problem for JB to sign that one. They passed full day kindergarten. So that establishes a full day kindergarten program by 2027-2028 school year. So that's that'll be interesting. This is a fun one. They have a ban. They passed a ban on book bans. So a measure spearheaded by Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giulius
passed a ban on
Jerry.
book bans. I like that.
Yes. Alexi Giulius withholds state grants from school or public libraries that run afoul of the American Library Association's Bill of Rights.
Ban on book ban. So that's great.
Which says materials should not be proscribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal
Turnabout is fair play.
disapproval. Okay. The elected school board map. I think we mentioned that.
No, that she doesn't feel safe in Dupage. That's great.
Yeah.
Did that pop up? I'm trying to I don't know if the buttons are under control.
I think we got you on just a hair of a delay, though.
Yeah, because the computer's misbehaving.
That's okay. So they extended the deadline for drawing the new 20 district Chicago Board of Education map. So the new deadline is changed from July 1st, 2023 to April 1st, 2024. It's going to give them a little more time to draw a better map than the one that they submitted there. A lot of people were complaining about the school board map because they didn't feel it was properly representing all the demographics, without getting too deep in the weeds there. Okay, they're cracking down on the crisis pregnancy centers because that's it's an anti-abortion KayFabe, basically.
Another one of those.
Yeah. So that's a good bill. Let's see, punitive damages in wrongful death cases. So Illinois is joining 34 other states that allow victims' families or descendants to recover punitive damages in wrongful death lawsuits. Okay. Treating Uber and Lyft as common carriers. That's a good one. Uber and Lyft were running all kinds of nasty ads on the radio and TV, trying to tell people how completely unaffordable the ride shares are going to be now that they actually have to be responsible for held liable for assaults and accidents.
Yeah, passenger safety.
So, like pretending like it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to take those ride shares right now through them. So again, I'm calling for a rideshare co-op. Please form one in Chicago.
Yeah.
If you're a rideshare provider and you're not sure how, check with New York. New York has one. New York has a rideshare co-op and they're doing okay. So see how they're doing it and see if you can reproduce that here. Anti-bullying in schools. Let's see what this says. Districts would be required to notify parents within 24 hours if their child was targeted of bullying or if their child shows signs of harming themselves due to bullying. It also expands the definition of bullying to include attacks on physical appearance, socioeconomic status, academic status, pregnancy, parenting status, and homelessness. Okay, anti-bullying stuff. Red light cameras. What? Jerry's ears perked up.
What? I was doing some research here to get into
red light cameras. You say? It bars contractors who provide equipment and services for red light camera companies from making campaign contributions.
But we talked about this last week.
Yeah. Also allows the Illinois Department of Transportation to remove red light cameras that have been linked to a bribery or corruption scandal. So that'll be a good bill to pass. Job openings and pay requires businesses with 15 or more workers to show salary information with job postings. If the business uses a third-party recruiter to fill vacancies, then they must post salary information. Yes, please. Okay. They're tracking stolen SNAP benefits. Okay. How about you expand the program, though, guys? Come on. You could do the state level expansion if you wanted to, Illinois. Oh, and then this one I've got a little bit of an issue with. They're calling it help for the CTA, and this bill, HB 1342, allows the Chicago Transit Authority to suspend riding privileges for, quote, problematic passengers, and outlines how the CTA board can make that determination.
Homeless people. They're probably going to use that to keep homeless people out of stations.
Yeah, that's my suspicion, is that they will find ways to abuse that ordinance if it passes. A third airport in Peatone.
Do we need another airport?
Okay, it would allow the state to start planning the airport with a report due in 6 months. Okay. Then again, these are things that have passed either in the House, in the Illinois House or Illinois Senate, and the ones that have passed both houses would be going to J.B. Pritzker to be signed, so he could still veto things.
I'm sorry I'm jumping ahead of you and reading those paragraphs there.
Yeah.
Because venue shopping for constitutional challenges doesn't catch my attention as much as healthcare for undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. I'm all for healthcare for undocumented. How about healthcare for everybody else? This is like a Medicare program. Look at this. Medicaid-style healthcare coverage to undocumented residents 42 and older.
Okay.
Why aren't you giving that to Americans? And
I
I'm not
want
saying,
that.
Don't take it away, okay? Don't take this necessary service, because healthcare is not a right. It should be. I'm sorry. Here, healthcare is not a privilege. It should be a right. Oh, on that note. Oh, okay. Can I also share something really quickly on healthcare?
Yeah.
Cracked crown.
Oh, damn.
MetLife, highest dental insurance coverage you can get. Went to my dentist to make sure I didn't get fucked. I asked the dentist to request pre-approval before he put a new crown on, right? They covered his other bill. MetLife denied the pre-approved payment after I've been paying them for 3 fucking years. I called him. Why? You say because he's out of network, but you paid him for his other. I'm getting to the point of like how insurance companies are fucking useless, okay? Which is why you need Medicare, you need Medicaid. They told me, they said, well, no, it's not because he's out of network. We aren't there to do the examination.
Oh, come on.
And I said, so he didn't document why I needed this, so I don't get an infection in my jaw from bacteria that could get past the crown into my gums. And they said, well, the x-rays were blurry. You need to have them. And then I looked closer at the denial, and they said, because I had a crown already put in here that cracked. It failed from 2-3 years ago. I've switched dentists. But because I already had a crown there, this dentist is not showing why this crown needs to be restored, even though it's clear there's a crack. They second guess doctors. And this drove me to go online to see how because I'd never encountered this before, Ed, how routine it is for insurers that you're paying money to month to month, year to year, will look for any fucking excuse to deny your coverage, even if you're looking for a pre-approval. They will do it on a doctor that's out of network. Oh, well, you already had a crown there, and he didn't document it well enough, to show that it needs restoration. Why are you second-guessing my dentist? Do you think that he's asking for a pre-approval for something that doesn't need to be done? But this is what they do. I'm telling you, insurance companies, be gone with all of them. Yeah. I have Medicare for my regular health coverage because I'm disabled, and everybody should. So when we hear about Medicaid being offered to migrants and immigrants, I don't have a problem with it. My problem is, why isn't this kind of a program being offered to everybody when we see how fucking ridiculous it is to get a fucking crown replaced that I've been paying this insurance company 4 years now? No, well, we weren't there, but we need to have better document. Fuck you. Yeah, I know, Art, who you used to work for. The department at Ed Burke's office that would routinely do everything they could to deny claims for firefighters and police officers that filed workman's comp claims. I know. Art shared this with us before.
Insurance.
Yep.
Insurance is not health care.
They're vampires.
Insurance,
Vampire
it's
parasites.
health care denial.
Yep. We'll take as much of your money as we can, make you think that you're safe, and then pull the rug out from under you.
It's a scam.
You know, I'm actually glad to see that this concern is being addressed, healthcare for undocumented immigrants. And people
Now,
would
it's not
say,
all of them. It just says the ones that are
47 and
42 and older.
42. However, I'm happy for this because I want more people to say, why are they getting it and we're not? Well, stop denying them and start demanding for yourself.
Yeah, it's not. It's they're trying to divide us by making you go, well, how come they have it and we don't? And the truth is, why doesn't everybody have it?
And I spent an hour on the phone with these guys to get that explanation.
Yeah.
Based on the information submitted and reviewed by our consulting dentists, no benefits can be allowed for this procedure since it appears to be replacing an existing crown. Yeah, or restoration. Yeah, the dentist just decided he wants to replace it so he can take money off something that's there. And there appears to be insufficient evidence of caries or tooth fracture necessitating the replacement. And I said to them, what didn't he submit? You mean he didn't send you any documentation, any notes, any x-ray? And they went, and again, hour on the phone. Well, yeah, we saw he sent x-rays, but they were blurry.
They were blurry. Seriously, drop all health insurance companies into a volcano. They gotta go. We need a comprehensive national health care system that covers everything that people need, and we need to stop dicking around.
And not just for regular medical, dental, and optical are health issues.
Yes.
If you get an infection in your jaw from bacteria, baby, that can spread to your brain and cause a whole bunch of other more expensive medical problems. It's not all cosmetic. You know, that's the other thing is the insurance companies act like, well, dental care is all about vanity. Your smile,
No, it isn't.
you look, it's not at all.
I'd like to be able to chew some food once in a while. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yep. Sorry, didn't mean to take over, but boy, did that grind my gears. When I first got the letter, Ed, I'm just like, what are you talking? And I didn't even know how I was going to approach it on the phone, but I figured, wait a minute. I know that they approved a bill my new dentist submitted several weeks ago for the initial care. So I started off with, so is my doctor in network? Well, no, he's out of network. And I said, well, why did you guys cover his bill then? Well, you know, you've got this plan where it allows you to see people out of network. And I'm like, okay. So on this pre-approval, though, it says he's out of network. Why aren't you going to cover what he's asking for to replace this, to restore this crown? And then I got the whole, well, the x-rays were blurry.
If you're just joining us, welcome to Dental Insurance Denial Theater featuring Jerry Vasilatos from Chicago Corner.
I like what Art says. If all citizens of Chicago started paying insurance from being a victim of crime in Chicago, they would certainly collect. How much is our life living in Chicago worth to an insurance company? Yep.
Insurance companies suck. Yeah, here's one some people have a problem with, and that's the Stevenson Expressway expansion. HJR 23. Something about I-55 expansion that apparently was not, I can't remember the details on why it's bad, but it's something they keep bringing up and then they keep punting it, and then someone tries to keep bringing it back because it's probably a sweetheart deal for somebody, and then it just creates more traffic and all that other stuff, and so people were not happy about it. Oh yeah, the other one, a bill lifting the nuclear moratorium. SB 76 ends a ban on a new nuclear power plant construction, which had been in place since 1987.
Around the time of, 3 Mile Island was in the 70s, wasn't it? But 87 was around the time of Chernobyl. Yeah, in Russia. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think you should be lifting any nuclear moratoriums. I don't trust.
It says the proposal received bipartisan support,
Yeah.
with
So
some
make-
saying nuclear energy is essential for Illinois to become a carbon-free state.
No, you know what's essential? The windmills that we see in Indiana.
Yeah, you know what?
Wind
Also,
power.
and also, I would worry less about about Illinois being a carbon-free state and worry more about the military-industrial complex and how much carbon they're spewing into
Yep.
the atmosphere that nobody talks about.
Amen. But
Because it's just
you've driven through Indiana, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Not-
you've seen all
not
the
in
wind,
a long time.
all the wind farms though, in rural areas that are nowhere near major populated areas that are doing their job harnessing wind energy and solar energy. Okay, solar panels. That's what you need, guys. No, we gotta kiss the out. We gotta blow the nuclear industry.
And here's a list of bills punted to the fall veto session. Help for the Bears. Yeah, we're not giving you any more money, Bears.
We're done. Apparently, I read today also they started tearing apart the inside of Arlington Stadium.
Yeah, I
for the new
heard about
construction.
that. Gun control. Under a bill passed by the House, judges could order people who are the subjects of orders of protection to immediately surrender their weapons to law enforcement. The Senate did not take up the measure. Legal cannabis updates. More than a dozen proposed changes to the state's recreational cannabis industry were proposed, but the measure encompassing them will likely need more work. Okay. So apparently they have concerns over Delta 8. I'm still learning about that stuff. Like, there's a Delta 8 and a Delta 9, and I guess like the potency level of things like edibles and stuff are one or the other.
I got nothing since I don't imbibe. So we'll take your word
Yeah,
for it.
I can't afford to. I
I can afford to. I just, like I've said in the past, I just cannot stand the smell of weed when I'm around people smoking it.
Yeah,
So.
well, that's why I when I can afford, and it might be a while till I can, I would lean toward the types of consumable products that don't really have that cannabis funk to them.
Or the alternative, mixes great with
Yes.
Coke.
Good old Jack. Biometric privacy update. Currently, a business or other entity must get consent from someone before collecting or transmitting their biometric data, such as a fingerprint scan. If they don't, the business could be liable for damages in each instance they broke the law. We're familiar with those in Illinois because anyone using social media in Illinois, like Facebook or Twitter or whatever,
Get some payouts.
we're getting a couple little checks in the mail from time to time for that, because apparently there's some biometric security problems that are happening there. It says there was a movement in Springfield to change that liability after the Illinois Supreme Court issued a $17 billion judgment against White Castle. Okay. A manager sued the fast food company for not gaining her consent before requiring her to use her fingerprint scan to access her pay stubs. Okay, that's a new one. So that one apparently is not happening anytime soon, but apparently they'll take that up again. So yeah, that was the Illinois stuff. Oh, and I figured, we since we do seem to be the ones covering machete related news. Ooh, hold on. I gotta mute Oreo's microphone. Okay.
Just realized during our broadcasts, let me turn the volume down here.
I got Oreo's mic muted, but it was definitely a weird little.
We're gonna have a cat. We're gonna call it the cat cam.
We got the Oreo cam.
The Oreo cam, the cat cam. I just realized I could do this on my cell phone as we're piloting the program. There you go. Because this is what I'm dealing with. You see my keyboard? You see how I'm trying really, really hard to like.
He's like, dude, you're not supposed to show him how the sausage is made.
All right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let's go ahead. I'll
pay no attention to the cat behind the camera.
We'll know what's going on over here. So,
So here we are. Speaking of, as I said, we are your source for machete news.
Oh yeah,
Chicago Corner.
Tonight, we're learning about a wild situation that happened earlier this month at the Dirksen Federal Building. A man is now facing serious charges for pulling a machete on federal employees. Prosecutors say this surveillance video shows the moment Leonard Delaney pulled out the blade. This happened back on May 3rd. The two employees ran inside and held the revolving door shut while calling for security. No one.
Wait, is this a new machete or last year's machete?
This is a different machete.
Whoa, this is crazy, man. It's a machete apocalypse. More people.
Yeah, so I mean, this was a story. There's a Sun Times article too. Oops, that's okay. I don't need it up on the screen. We need a bigger shot of Oreo anyway. Machete wielding man foiled by judicial worker who jammed foot in revolving door at courthouse. From the Sun Times. A detention hearing is scheduled Friday for Leonard Delaney, who is charged with assaulting a federal judicial employee on May 3rd. Now, you just saw the video. Let's see. He is charged with assaulting a federal judicial employee. A hearing to decide if he should be kept in custody until trial is scheduled for Friday. According to a complaint, two federal judicial employees and a civilian were chatting after lunch outside the courthouse on May 3rd. When one of the employees entered a revolving door, Delaney pulled out a machete more than 14 inches long. Once inside the building, the unidentified employee jammed a foot in the door to keep Delaney from getting in. So that was some quick thinking. Hopefully their foot is okay. Let me see. There was let's see. Looking for... They had information on why the hell he was heading into the federal building.
Art's got it figured out.
Okay. Yeah, according to court records, Delaney suffers from mental illness. Days before the incident, Delaney got an unfavorable ruling in a rambling federal lawsuit he filed against his apartment complex, records show. So I wonder what that was about. Wish we could get details on that if we had a legal dude who could look up the court case on that. Arturo says, even if all the guns were to disappear, we would still use machetes. Yeah, but, how many machetes can you really carry, right? So, you get these automatic or semi-automatic weapons with multiple rounds. Still, how many swings of a machete are you going to get in before someone tries to take you down?
Yeah, really.
Unless you are Machete, in which, Danny Trejo, he might be able to get in several swings.
Machete.
But I think it's extremely important for me to try and get the feature going here. There we go. That's better. So...
Oh, now he's done. Now he's bored and he's leaving.
See, now he's bored. Now that I got him featured,
right? Now that I
featured him, now they featured him in the camera, he wanders off.
Yeah,
is he off the desk entirely now?
Yeah, at least now I've got control of my desktop back.
Okay.
That was fun. Yeah, well, now you all see what I'm dealing with. All right.
So, Scroogle, thanks for joining us late. You'll have to rewind and watch the entire show over from 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 3, I think.
We're at almost. We're only at a little past 2.5.
A little past 2.5. Okay. All right. Cool.
Almost at 2.5. Almost at 2.5. 2:29. I'm seeing.
I think that's all I got for tonight.
Oh, was that everything? Okay.
I think that was it. Yeah, the machete news was the last one. So
Cool.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No,
any
it's
movies?
10:30.
Movies we should discuss.
I saw something. Actually, I posted this on my Twitter today. Let's see if my windows cooperate here as I open a Finder folder on my desktop, even though I'm getting the spinning beach ball of death, as often happens when I'm live streaming and I have something to share here. I guess you can just buy time, Ed. Until I don't know. Am I going to cooperate with me or not?
I can do that.
Doesn't look like I will.
I'll flip to the flip to back to the Tuesday tab and remind everybody that Chicago Corner is brought to you by P.L. Sullivan's International Chicken Wing and Currency Exchange. Behind that one alley. You know the one.
That's not our real sponsor. We have a real sponsor. That we,
That's
know what?
true.
Let's run the video for our sponsor while I see if this thing's going to cooperate, or if I'm just going to leave it in a ditch and I can't share it.
Is that on the Friday tab, or do I have that one? Oh, I do have that one.
I may have put it in the Tuesday tab.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it. Okay.
Which is doing very well this week. It seems that whenever I hit Memorial Day is when sales start going through the roof. So if you know anybody who has a cane or uses crutches, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, please guide them to my product.
Are you a cane or crutch user seeking greater support on the beach, golfing, gardening, or going up or down stairs? How about a tip that freestands both canes and crutches when not in use? Regular cane and crutch tips won't work on all surfaces. You've tried the rest, now get the best. Introducing the Easy Walk by Sandpad Brands, the only cane and crutch pad providing stability on sand, grass, snow, mud, rocky terrain, as well as regular paved surfaces.
And if you'd like to get your own, head over to easywalkpads.com.
And I'd like to report, Ed, that I'm at 28% with Brave Open and a Finder window, and the Finder is the spinning beach ball of death. So I can't share this funny thing at the end of the show about movies that I'm trying to open up.
Oh, that's disappointing. Although I gotta say, Jerry, your video is nice right now. It's smooth. I can hear your audio good.
That's good.
So we're getting there. A little, a few little steps at figuring out all the little gremlins. We took out the main gremlin. We're still dealing with his supporting cast. Apparently,
I just get frustrated when my operating system does not allow me to add things to the show here now. It shouldn't take me anything to bring up a JPEG to share. Although, wait a minute, maybe I can do it in presenting. No, wait a minute. Hang on a second. When we select slides, would that allow me to select a file as if it's a JPEG? My computer. From my computer.
Maybe.
It might. Okay, so let me see if. No, only PDFs and PowerPoint. So that's.
Oh, you would have to set something up in Google Slides. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
If you have you want to set. I mean, you could drop something in the Slack if that's easier. I could bring it up on the screen. Or you don't have your Slack open.
If I'm worried if I open up my Slack. No, it's just this is too much effort. People shouldn't have to wait on me to share a JPEG.
So we'll figure that out.
I'll do it Friday. Fucking technology.
Or you could use your mobile phone to tweet it at me.
You know what? You're right. Because I did share it on my Facebook, so I can very, very quickly. Ed is the miracle worker.
I'm just always looking for solutions, Jerry.
Well, you always figure it out, though, man, and that's why we rely on you here. Not only, and now he's back. Now he's back when I'm.
He's back.
All right.
Now that you're using your mobile device for other things, it's like, oh, good, he doesn't have me on the camera anymore.
Yeah. Now he's coming
back.
Now he's gonna get in my face as I'm trying to send you something via Slack. All right, I just sent it via Slack.
Oh, okay.
This is what I call the truth in advertising portion of the program. After you share this.
All right. I can do this.
It might be worth the wait for some of you that want a little giggle. I don't know. Did it come through?
Yeah, I got it. Hold on. Okay.
And you need to tell me when the picture is up because everything on my end is frozen. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't understand why this movie isn't being actually promoted and titled this way.
Batman Returns again. June 16th. Co-starring Ezra Miller as the Flash.
I mean, isn't that really what this movie is?
Well, yeah, the truth is, I mean, people are showing up to see Michael Keaton as Batman again.
That's all they're showing up. Nobody wants to see Ezra Miller as the Flash.
I mean, it'll be a cluster fudge popcorn movie, and I will probably enjoy it, but I'm sure it's going to be a nightmare of things patched together in order to try and make that movie work, when they probably had better content that they just threw it through the cutting room floor because they didn't want to deal with the Zack Snyder stuff.
Well, I would also share with you there was better stuff. Look, this movie took 5 or 6 years to make and complete and release, the pandemic notwithstanding. But the development of this script went through so much hell until they just look. The original Flashpoint story in the comic books that this whole time travel story is adapted from had Barry Allen meeting Bruce Wayne's father because Bruce Wayne, in an alternate timeline, because Bruce Wayne had died in that mugging, and his father had survived to become a vigilante. And what was originally planned, Ed, what's the actor's name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan from Walking Dead.
Oh, was going to play Thomas Wayne as Batman?
He played Thomas Wayne in Batman versus Superman in the opening sequence that recounted the Waynes being murdered. Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was going to come back as Thomas Wayne. So
that would have been good.
Naturally, they jettisoned that because they wanted to appeal to the nostalgia of grown up man babies in their basements who still think Michael Keaton was the best Bruce Wayne and the best Batman. So they had to bring him back from an alternate timeline. There's so much hit or miss with actually more miss these days with the creative decisions that the suits at Warner Brothers are taking while pulling out the rugs and derailing the vision of actual creatives. That's why I'm like so ambivalent about this movie. It might be kind of fun to see Michael Keaton back, but then the other part of me is like, I don't want to see 70-year-old Bruce Wayne Batman. I want to see Ben Affleck's iteration complete itself, and it really didn't have the chance to. I got emotionally invested in that, and then like, well, we're not going to finish that. Now we're going to look over here. And it's like, fuck you guys. Let these directors and these creatives follow and finish the plan. And I guarantee you that storyline, had it been adapted more faithfully, I think would have done very well. But as I see all the promotions for The Flash, I'm just like, nobody's interested in seeing The Flash. They just want to see Michael Keaton. But that's what Warner Brothers depended on. Instead of offering Michael Keaton a boatload of money when he was still in his prime to come back and maybe have some creative input because he didn't want to do Batman Forever. That's why he walked. Here we are 7 years later with Michael Keaton coming back, almost 80 Harrison Ford. I'm all happy that Harrison Ford is excited about wrapping up Indiana Jones, but truth be told, I wish that they could have made more indie movies when he was younger in his prime, so it's not really stretching the credibility of, let's say, an older character doing things that we know are kind of ridiculous. Or even, look, I love Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. They stay in good shape. But Arnold Stallone bringing back Rambo or Rocky, as beloved as those characters were, it just doesn't hold water for me when the characters are older. Anyway, that's why I'm ambivalent about The Flash with Michael Keaton and how it's being marketed. So there's my little movie rant.
Yeah.
Yes, and you can run the Steve Martin, Chatty Cathy.
Arturo says, I hear Tina Turner plays the Joker. Oh, too soon? Yeah, rest in peace, Tina Turner. She made that Thunderdome movie what it was. I mean, that was a great movie. The Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. That was, I mean, that was great. And what else is going on?
No, Kathy, I haven't gotten the crown yet. No, I have to wait until my dentist submits more evidence. And I'm thinking, am I going to have to go in and get clear X-rays for them to look at now? How ridiculous!
Did you tell your doctor that they told you the X-rays were blurry?
I called the dentist, but today after I got off, no, I called them before I called MetLife. And the dentist was supposed to give me a call back. And after I got out with MetLife, I don't think the dentist called because they would have left a message. But I'm going to call them again tomorrow and tell them that. And I'm really curious to see what they say about this the x-rays were too blurry for them to trust the actual accredited dentist's opinion that my crown needs restoration so that I don't get an infection from bacteria getting into my gums.
Yeah, it's bizarre. All right, well, let me turn that thing off. And let's see, where are we at on this thing? Okay, we did the PL Sullivan bits. We played the EasyWalkPads.com ad. We didn't put Brandon's big face on the screen yet. There he is.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown as Oreo runs Chicago Corner. There he is.
Yeah, it's probably. What's going on here? Press the button. There we go. Okay. I'm scrolling down and noticing that there's a ton of overlays that we're probably not going to use much anymore.
Well, if some of these characters end up interfering and starting console wars, well, yeah, I get. We don't need Chewie the Stash anymore. Yeah, we can get rid of all the Rona Destroyer stuff, all of the Lori Lightfoot stuff.
Yeah,
she's fired. Although we need to keep Lori Lightfoot for NASCAR. Maybe we need to wait for Lori to retire Lori's overlays until after NASCAR, because we're gonna
we gotta
that
wait.
clusterfuck that's coming in next month.
Yeah, and then I think. Well, actually, we may hang on to one of the Chewies because he is still in Congress.
Yeah.
So, and he should. I don't know how active he's going to be into getting money for the state, like we keep telling him he's got to do.
Should we just hold on to this one? Everybody knows what it means.
The stash. Yeah, I think this. They're like, what the hell is that? And then some people are like, wait, is that the thing from the Caddyshack pool? No.
No, it's Chewy. My nickname for him is the Stash. Jesus Garcia. I don't know where I guess Chewy came from. It's what is that? How you Chewy is?
That is a nickname for Jesus.
Jesus. Okay, so that's why it is. All right. Well, I think the Stash is more appropriate, but what do I know? I might not have a right to claiming that since it might be considered ethnically insensitive. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know how.
I don't know.
Well, and I don't know how often Willie's going to be doing giveaways, but
Yeah, he hasn't been in the news giving anything away lately, has he?
No, he's very. And Paul, well, I mean, he's going to resurface from time to time, so we'll need something.
Yeah.
To reference him from that makes him look like Cornholio. I mean, he's literally doing the Beavis stance right here.
Yeah.
Are you threatening me?
I hit the button. Yeah.
It's okay. And, I doubt that Raymond Lopez is going anywhere anytime soon. So
no, especially
so
not.
We'll be able to mock his oatmeal, his poor oatmeal preparing skills.
I see a movie in Raylo's future. Raymond Lopez and the Wheelbarrow of Shit. It's like an Indiana Jones adventure.
Could be. All right. I need to
wrap it up.
I can't find the.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
Okay.
Oh! I beg your pardon. What did you say?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Be impatient.
He's being super patient. Oh, I got those are all the Taco Tuesdays. We watched the Taco Tuesday on the Open.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
Except that's not the one anymore. I need to get an outro that starts with that again. Because we got the other one. It's the longer version. It's okay. You guys can all his microphone is muted because of this weird thing that Chrome compatible browsers do, where he's waiting for the audio to finish playing on his side.
That's right, Ed. I was waiting for the audio to stop because Brave is suddenly starting to behave like Chrome. When Friday night it went off without a hitch.
That's weird.
I opened Chrome and I closed it and maybe when Chrome loaded, it just like created some bug that needed me to restart my computer. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I can just never open Chrome for anything while Brave is open. I'll test that after the show.
It must be the version of your operating system and whatever Chrome compatible browsers do.
Yeah.
That causes this bug, but we still haven't nailed that down.
Well, remember again, I didn't open Chrome Friday, but I opened Chrome before we started the show to read show notes from, and that's when you said, Jerry, your video signal's going bad, and I canceled out of Chrome, and I shut it off, and I restarted my Brave browser, but we still have problems. So I think it needed an operating system reboot without Chrome opening at all. Because maybe when Chrome opened, it loaded shit into the system that's interfering with Brave now. I don't know.
But aside from the audio access issues, your video's been pretty good tonight, though.
Yeah. Even when I didn't realize it was running. You're telling me you can hear me, you can see me, and my screen was like frozen with the little beach ball rotating. So anyway, we don't need to bother the audience. We'll figure it out, guys.
Here we are at the end of the show talking shop, but that's okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner. Please tune in around 7:30 p.m. on Friday, where Jerry is piloting the Starship Chicago Corner, and very likely that Oriole will be nearby, getting in the way of his keyboard and mouse.
Speaking of Oreo, wait a minute, guys. All right.
There we go.
He's returned. Oreo returns. Is it low? What's taking so long, man?
No, it's good. I just muted his mic.
Oh, but you see him though. There we go.
Yeah, we see him fine.
He's back, and look at his little paw. He always like reaches out to like.
He's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, hey, Daddy.
It's like, you're all here for me. You didn't come here for them.
It's a little punk. You're a little punk. A little punky. All right, guys. I got nothing else. Sorry. Didn't mean to.
Right. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us on this evening's Chicago Corner. And once again, thanks for watching. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of fluids. Take care of each other. Be nice to your stream cats.
Yes.
All right. So, good night.
Oh, fuck this noise, man.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.